Chapter 11:24. Recently, the divine imperial universe was peaceful because the conflicts in the 9 universes had come to an end. The structure of the 9 universes had changed. Inevitably, the major families were weakened. Nobody could threaten the divine imperial universe anymore. The central imperial universe was conquered and was now occupied by the Qin family. Many warriors of the Feng family and the Qi family were killed. The remaining elites and powerful warriors fled to their respective ancestral lands. After Jun Hongye came back, the structure of the Earth Imperial Universe changed as well. 2 semigod realm warriors of the Hao family were killed in battle. The Hao family was weakened. Jun Hongye led the Jun family army and unified the Earth Imperial Universe. There were 5 other universes, including the Neverland universe. Because of the death of the Li family patriarch, the 5 universes took advantage of the chaos in the 9 universes. Many families took actions. The power structure of 3 of the 5 universes had changed. In this chaos, many were injured or killed. The major families were weakened again. Naturally, nobody went to the divine imperial universe to make trouble. After all, the divine imperial universe had the divine imperial city. Throughout history, nobody could break into the divine imperial universe. Threatening the Yen family was pointless. It was a waste of time. After Yen Zhen sneaked to the Heaven Reverse universe, the divine imperial universe activated the formation and sealed off several entrances. It was difficult to fight their way into the divine imperial universe. Therefore, recently the divine imperial universe had been peaceful. The divine imperial city was filled with songs and dances. Many young masters of the Yen family partied every night, enjoying the power and glory that came with being a disciple of the Yen family. Yen Yi was one of them. As the most talented young master of the Yen family, he had reached the middle stage of the Earth Immortal Realm at the age of 30. There was no reason for Yen Yi not to be proud and to enjoy the good life. Tonight, he was hosting a banquet in the best tavern in the divine imperial city. He had invited all the young masters and young ladies of the major families of the divine imperial universe to celebrate his 30th birthday. While the divine imperial universe belonged to the Yen family, there were other families as well. Those families were either related to the Yen family or had been affiliated to the Yen family. Naturally, the families attached great importance to the crown prince's birthday. He could be the future family patriarch of the Yen family. How could they not fawn over him? Therefore, there were so many guests tonight. Many young masters and young ladies dressed up and surrounded Yen Yi. Listening to countless words of flattery and feeling the infatuated and worshipful gazes of the young ladies, Yen Yi was in a good mood tonight and frequently toasted the guests. From time to time, he would glance at the beautiful ladies inside, wondering who he should ask to serve him tonight. Young Master Yi, today is your big day. I've prepared a special gift for you. Please accept it. A young master suddenly clapped his hands, attracting everyone's attention. The young masters and young ladies in the hall stopped talking and looked at this young master. A faint smile appeared on Yen Yi's face. He raised his cup from afar and said, "Young master who is too polite. It must be a great gift for young master who to be so serious. I am looking forward to it." "Ah!" Young master who laughed heartily. He waved his hand and said, "Everyone, please follow me outside to have a look. I guarantee that it will be an eye-opener for you." "Alright, let's go take a look." Yen Yi's smile widened. He got up and led the group outside. Just as he walked out, the sound of wind music rang out. Following that, streaks of light appeared in the distance and quickly drifted over. Everyone swept a glance over, and they were all stunned. 5 beauties flew over from afar. Those beauties all had snow-white wings on their back. Their skin was as white as snow, and their hair was still snow-white. They were also wearing snow-white palace dresses. From afar, they looked like 5 angels that had descended. The palace dresses that the 5 beauties were wearing were probably specially made. They emitted a faint holy white light. After flying in the air in front of everyone, they began to dance. They flew around in the air. Together with the sound of wind music, it was as if 5 real goddesses were dancing. Good heavens! A young master's eyes were filled with lust. He was secretly impressed by young master whose generosity. These 5 women were not ordinary women. They were the famous Ice Lady race. Their skin was ice cold and smooth, and they were one of the best bedmates. This race was very rare. Usually, when one appeared, it would immediately be fought over by the big families. Young master who brought 5 of them at once. How could Yen-yi not be pleased with such a great gift? The moon was unclear tonight, and the stars were blocked. The sky looked a little dim, which served as a foil to the 5 women's beauty. The robes of the 5 people emitted a faint white light, like fireflies in the night sky, very attractive. What was more, the 5 of them had stunning looks, graceful figures, graceful movements, and holy expressions. They could ignite the lust in all the men present. Yen-yi's eyes glowed and his smile grew wider. Some young ladies, on the other hand, were disappointed. Tonight should have been a great chance for them to hook up with Yen-yi. Even without the title, it would be beneficial for them and their families to become Yen-yi's women. Judging by Yen-yi's looks, they might not have the chance tonight. Good, good, good. Yen-yi watched for a while and was in a good mood. He could not help but clap and cheer. He looked at young master who with even more tenderness. Many young masters offered their congratulations, which put Yen-yi in a very good mood tonight. Dong! Right at that moment, from the north of the divine imperial city came a muffled sound. The sound was low, but it was heard by everyone in the city. What? Countless people's expressions changed slightly, especially the Yen clan's disciples. Their expressions were even more serious because the grand imperial bell wouldn't be rung unless something big happened. Did anything happen recently? Yen-yi and the other young masters looked at each other, hesitating. Could it be that someone had accidentally rung the grand bell? Dong! Another muffled sound came. This time, Yen-yi and the others were taken aback. The first bell could be a coincidence, but the second bell meant that something was wrong. Dong, dong, dong! After 3 consecutive tolls, Yen-yi's expression had turned extremely ugly. Many Yen family disciples in the divine imperial city flew up. Some family patriarchs of major families flew up and looked to the north. Dong, dong, dong! When the bell rang for the 8th time, Yen-yi and the immediate Yen family disciples were trembling. Many young masters who knew the inside story were frightened as well. Dong! After the 9th bell rang, Yen-yi and the Yen family disciples felt weak in their knees. They dropped to the ground. 2 of the Yen clan's disciples immediately burst into tears and kowtowed towards the north. Family patriarch! Miserable cries came from all directions. The entire divine imperial city could hear the cries. Usually, the grand bell would not be rung. Once it was rung, something major must have happened. If the grand bell was rung for 9 times, it meant that the current Yen family patriarch had passed away. Yen Zhen had been the family patriarch for hundreds of years. He enjoyed high prestige in the Yen family. He was the pillar of the Yen family, the sky. Yen Zhen wore relic armor and held a relic weapon. He was powerful. Theoretically speaking, he could live for another 1,000 years. Now, he had passed away? Everyone felt the sky was falling. The divine imperial city was in chaos. Cries and curses were heard everywhere. Yen Zhen could not have passed away for no reason. He must have been murdered. It just so happened that the 5 ice ladies in the sky were still dancing. They were domesticated slaves. Without young master whose order, they would not stop. Yen-yi roared angrily. He suddenly punched out with his hand and smashed the 5 ice ladies in the air into pieces. Chapter 11:25. It must be Luli. It must be that devil. Yes, yes. Our Yen family must avenge this blood feud. We must avenge it. All powerful warriors of the Yen family, Let's work together and go to the Heaven Reverse Universe to kill Lu Li and his family. Yan Yi was not the only one shouting. Many people in the city were shouting as well. Yan Zhen had gone to the Heaven Reverse Universe secretly. For the outside world, this was a secret, but many disciples of the Yan family were well aware. Yan Zhen had relic armor, relic artifacts, and 4 warriors at the peak of the semi-god realm with him. He could have swept across any universe. He could have even gone to the Mage Imperial Universe, the Central Imperial Universe, or the Earth Imperial Universe. At the very least, even if Yan Zhen were tricked, the other 4 warriors at the peak of the semi-god realm would be killed. At the very least, Yan Zhen would be fine. Who could crack the relic armor and kill Yan Zhen? Yan family disciples believed that there was no such warrior in the 9 universes. Therefore, Lu Li was the problem. Back in the days, Lu Li was able to kill the allied forces of the 9 universes all by himself. Only a few of the more than 100 survived. This proved that Lu Li was not an average person. He must have something to rely on. It just so happened that Yan Zhen went to the Heaven Reverse Universe. His death must have something to do with Lu Li. Yan Yi howled in pain. He flew up and dashed toward the hall at the north. Before he arrived, he could see many powerful warriors gathering around. But the door to the hall was closed. Yan Yi was the most powerful young master of the Yan family, but he was not qualified to go in. He was still too weak to be part of the decision-making process at the highest level of the Yan family. Many people were kneeling outside the main hall. Many of them were angry, many of them were sorrowful, and even more of them were panicking. Yan Zhen was wearing relic armor and wielding relic weapons. If he was killed, would the Divine Imperial City be saved? If Lu Li came to the Divine Imperial Universe and breached the Divine Imperial City, the entire Yan family would be wiped out. They would be killed even if they fled to the ancestral land. The Yan family had dominated the 9 universes for 1,000,000 years. They had made many enemies. Once the Divine Imperial City was breached, many families would swarm over and take advantage of the situation. Everyone in the Yan family would be found and killed one by one. The doors to the hall were shut tight. The elders of the Yan family were discussing inside. The people outside could only stand or kneel and wait for the result of the discussion. After half a day, the door was finally opened. Yan Hu, the chief patriarch of the Yan family, who was in charge of the Divine Imperial City, came out with others. An elder officially announced that Yan Zhen had passed away. Yan Zhen's jade talisman of life had shattered, and the elders of the Yan family had also contacted Yan Tiangang to confirm this news. After the unanimous vote of the Yan family's elders and Yan Tiangang's approval, the Yan family's first elder, Yan Hu, would be the new Yan family leader. He would lead the Yan family through this crisis. Yan Hu issued his first order as the clan leader, which was to retract all of his forces. All the Yan family disciples were evacuated back to the Divine Imperial Universe. At the same time, some Yan family disciples were arranged to go to the ancestral land. The Yan family would try its best to survive this disaster. Whoosh! Yan Hu's words raised an uproar among the Yan family disciples. The Yan family had more than just the Divine Imperial Universe. They had many affiliated universes. If all of them retreated, the Yan family would lose a lot of benefits, including the benefits of many people present. How could the Yan family, the number 1 family of the 9 universes, be forced into such a difficult situation by one person? When the news spread out, the Yan family's reputation would be ruined. How could they command the 9 universes in the future? Disaster. Yan Yi and the others heard the word. Yan Hu did not say the word crisis, but disaster. This implied that Lu Li was powerful, so powerful that he could wipe out the Yan family. But on second thought, Yan Zhen was killed by Lu Li even when he was wearing a relic armor. Lu Li could defeat all the powerful warriors in the 9 universes. Has Lu Li reached the immortal realm? Many people had this thought in their minds, but even a Divine Realm warrior would find it difficult to break the divine artifact armor, right? Back in the days, the 9 universes did have someone who had reached the immortal realm. The family patriarch of the Yen family at that time even fought. An immortal could not kill the Yen family patriarch easily. Lu Li is only in his 30s, right? Someone asked. When Lu Li came to the Central Imperial Universe, he was only 18. Back then, he was only at the Noble Lord realm. It had only been a dozen years, but Lu Li's abilities had reached such a level. Many people were shocked. Stop talking. Yen Hu waved his hand and said, "This is the decision of the Hall of Patriarchs. You just need to carry it out. Also, send someone to the Prison of Wind, Prison of Darkness, and Prison of Soul. Ask all the warriors that are cultivating to come back." What? Many people were shocked again. They all knew that some warriors were cultivating in the Prison of Ice, Prison of Wind, Prison of Darkness, and Prison of Soul. Those warriors had not been involved in family affairs for many years. They would not come back even if they were asked for help. Now that they were asked to come, it meant that the situation had reached a critical point. The Yen family took action soon. Disciples of the Yen family in some small worlds took action. Warriors and armies in those worlds retreated. The Yen family gave up on the worlds they occupied. Inevitably, the news spread. After all, the Yen family had made a big move this time. They gave up so many worlds at once. Scouts from other families were not useless. For a moment, the 9 universes were in an uproar. Many were wondering what had happened to the Yen family. Why did they give up so many worlds at once? Many families had spies in the divine, imperial universe. They contacted those spies immediately to gather information. Under the actions of various forces, the news was quickly found out. Yen Zhen secretly went to the Heaven Reverse Universe with warriors. All of them were wiped out. Yen Zhen died. The news was like a bolt from the blue. Many powerful warriors were stunned. Yen Zhen, who was no different from a god in the eyes of many, was killed? Yen Zhen, who was wearing a relic armor, was killed. This was ridiculous. After the initial shock, many families did not gloat over the misfortune. Instead, they were worried. Last time, many families invaded the Heaven Reverse Universe together, and they all held grudges against Lu Li. For example, after Jun Hongye heard the news, he locked himself in his room and sat there for 6 hours. In the end, he made the same decision: to reduce the Jun family's influence, and to invite the old guys who were cultivating in seclusion in the purgatory of primordial chaos back. Because of one piece of news, the 9 universes were in turmoil. Many people were in a constant state of anxiety. Nobody dared to go to the Heaven Reverse Universe anymore. They were all worried that Lu Li would come to the 9 universes. The only one that was not worried was Chen Tianxian. Not only was he not worried, he was excited. He was looking forward to seeing Lu Li, hoping that Lu Li would come to the 9 universes and conquer the 9 universes so that he could benefit. Patriarchs of many families went to the purgatory of primordial chaos, the prison of ice, the prison of wind, the prison of darkness, and the prison of soul to ask the warriors that were cultivating in their families to come back. Chapter 11:26. The 9 universes were in turmoil. The Heaven Reverse Universe, on the other hand, had calmed down. With Yen Zhen's death, Lu Li believed that the catastrophe was over. Of course, he did not let his guard down. He asked Yu to monitor everywhere. What if there were more powerful warriors of the Yen family hiding? Lu Li put away the relic armor and weapon and Yen Zhen's interspatial ring. He asked Yu to send a message to find someone to take care of the funeral while he went to a nearby city to tend to his wounds. His injuries were not particularly serious. He was in low spirits and was physically and mentally exhausted. Because of him, so many civilians were implicated. His heart was weighed down. He blamed himself and felt guilty. His wounds were serious. He could think of nothing else. He hid in a small city to tend to his wounds and fell into a deep sleep. Before he fell asleep, he gave an order to collect all the bodies of the deceased and bury them together. Also, a monument was to be built. When the monument was built, he would bring Yan Zhen's head over to pay his respects. Patriarch of Law Enforcement came out. Jiang Qiling and the twins came over when they were sure that it was safe. They were Lu Li's wives and they knew him best. This was the most painful moment for Lu Li and he needed their comfort. Patriarch of Law Enforcement took care of the funeral in person. Lu Xingyang and the others teleported to the Clouds Plains. Hu Lang was honored. Lu Xingyang gave the Clouds Plains to Hu Lang in person. Hu Lang had done a great service and helped Lu Li a lot. A large number of warriors were mobilized to collect the bodies, treat the wounded and the dying, settle down the surviving civilians, and deal with the aftermath. Lu Li slept and woke up for 7 to 8 days. It was not because his wounds were serious, but because he was exhausted. When he woke up, Jiang Qiling and the twins had come by super teleportation formation. They said nothing when they saw that Lu Li was in low spirits. They stayed with him in silence. Lu Li did not feel happy even though he had acquired 2 relics and killed powerful enemies. He stayed in the small city for half a month without seeing anyone. 20 days later, all of the corpses were collected and buried together. A sacred spirit stele was built there. Finally, Lu Li showed up. He was wearing a black robe. Together with Jiang Qiling and the twins, he bowed and kowtowed to the deceased civilians. What was more, Lu Li even knelt down. Many others knelt down as well. After he took out Yan Zhen's head, Lu Li went to the Holy Spirit stele. Seeing the words of praise, Lu Li said with dissatisfaction, "Change these words. Make it clear that these people died because of me. Help me write an edict of self-reproach." Many big shots were taken aback. Lu Li had gone too far. Wasn't it just some civilians who died? Which battle didn't result in deaths? Not to mention, Lu Li had won this time. It wasn't a big deal to implicate some civilians. It was good enough that they were buried in such a solemn way. Lu Li's declaration of his own crimes would leave a stain on the history book. What? No one listens to my orders anymore? Seeing that no one moved, Lu Li turned to the side and said coldly. The patriarchs of the Lu family hurried to move. They smoothed out the words and re-engraved them. When all the words were done, Lu Li turned around, glanced at everyone and said, "Nobody can erase these words. This is to be a warning to future generations. These people died because of me. I was too arrogant. At first, I thought that even if the Yan family were to take action again, I would be able to deal with them easily. I didn't know that there is always someone better than you. I had not learned something by luck and improved my abilities. I don't know how many more people of the great land would have died. Don't call it the Holy Spirit stele. Call it the monument of self-reproach. It is a warning to future generations that they cannot be arrogant and underestimate their enemies." Everyone was silent. They bore Lu Li's words in mind. As far as they were concerned, Lu Li had won a great victory. Not only did he kill 4 warriors at the peak of the semi-god realm, but he also killed the family patriarch of the Yan family and took away 2 relics. However, they did not expect that Lu Li was so heavy-hearted that he issued a decree of self-reproach. He was a saint who cared about the common people and was benevolent. Lu Li bowed to the graves again. Then, he raised his hand and swore, "I, Lu Li, swear to heaven that I will kill my way to the 9 universes and wipe out the Yan family to avenge you. If I break this oath, let me, Lu Li, fall into hell forever and never be reincarnated." Lu Li's solemn vow and sonorous words moved many people nearby. Many civilians gathered here. After all, the ones buried were civilians. They all knelt to Lu Li. To them, the white-haired and black-robed man was no different from the Emperor of Heaven reverse. Lu Li didn't worry about anything else after he buried the civilians. He went back to the prison of wood with Jiang Qiling and the others. He planned to spend some time with the 3 of them. At the same time, he would consume 2 relics to enhance his abilities before he went to the 9 universes. He didn't study the map of fundamental principle. It had been a long time. Clearly, he could not learn the map of fundamental principle anytime soon. Without the wind-related fundamental principle, he would not be able to become an immortal. Now that he had mastered the Slayer's move and acquired 2 relics, his abilities had increased. He was not in such a hurry to learn the map of fundamental principle. Also, he realized there was one thing he had not done, which was to dissolve the seal of the wicked bead. Now that he had reached the semi-god realm, he could dissolve a new seal of the wicked bead. He had been in a hurry to learn the map of fundamental principle and had forgotten about it. He almost forgot about the bead of wood as well. He didn't even use it this time. Therefore, he decided not to think about integrating the map of fundamental principle. He wanted to concentrate on the Slayer's move and stabilize it. He believed that if he could reach a high level of the Slayer's move, he could also become an immortal. Well, ice, wind, darkness, and soul of thunder. As a matter of fact, I can go to the prison of wind. Maybe it will be easier for me to integrate the wind-related fundamental principle there. Luli remembered that Lu Renhuang's cultivation speed was much faster in the prison of ice. It was said that he had reached the semi-god realm a long time ago and was about to make another breakthrough. If Luli went to the prison of wind, it might be easier for him to be inspired and learn the map of fundamental principle. Okay, it is decided. Luli made up his mind. He would spend some time to take control of the relic armor and weapon. After that, he would dissolve the new seal of the wicked bead. Then, he would go to the prison of gold. If possible, he would go to the divine imperial universe, break the divine imperial city, and wipe out the Yen family. If he could not break the divine imperial city, he would go to the prison of wind to see if he could integrate the map of fundamental principle and become an immortal. He did not go back to the wicked bead. He sat in the valley of cherry blossoms to cultivate. The Xian energy he cultivated was divided into 3 parts, one for the relic armor, one for the relic weapon, and one for the wicked bead. After a while, Luli felt more confident. If Yanjun could take control of the relic weapon and the relic weapon, so could Luli. But the speed was slow. He made a rough calculation. If he cultivated Xian energy without rest, it would take him 1 year to dissolve the seal of the wicked bead and 8 or 9 months for the 2 relic weapons. 1 year. A glint of coldness rose in Luli's eyes. In a year, he could go to the prison of gold and find a way to conquer the 9 universes. This time, he would turn the 9 universes upside down. P.S. At 6:30, the official account released the list of top 10 beauties of the Heaven Reverse universe. This was the ranking in the old monster's mind. What do you think? Chapter 11:27. Time passed by mercilessly. After Luli killed Yanjun, peace returned to the Heaven Reverse universe. Luli said in person that from now on, no more warriors of the 9 universes would come to the Heaven Reverse universe. Patriarch of Law Enforcement notified the Heaven Reverse universe so that people could put their minds at ease. The outside world did not know what had happened even though it seemed dangerous. Patriarch of Law Enforcement issued a gag order that those with inside information should not leak it out. The public only said that warriors of the 9 universes came to challenge Luli and were all killed by him. Everything quieted down. Battles continued at the unclaimed lands. The 4 major families and some other major families were resting and developing. After several months of chaos, the 9 universes were relieved to find that Luli did not come to the 9 universes immediately. Theoretically speaking, Luli should have gone to the 9 universes at once. Since he did not come, he would not come anytime soon. Many families invited back their senior warriors that were cultivating in the purgatory of primordial chaos. Luli might not come now, but that did not mean that he would never come back. With these old monsters holding down the fort, the various clans would feel much more at ease. The divine imperial universe controlled 7 or 8 small universes and over 100. 3 months later, they all gave up. The other families of the 9 universes did not dare to fight for the Yin family. After all, the situation was not clear. What if Lu Li could not do anything to the Yin family? If the Yin family survived this disaster, the Yin family would deal with anyone that dared to take advantage of the situation. Chen Tianxian secretly sent someone to the prison of wood to see Lu Li. However, the entrance to the prison of wood was sealed off by Kumang. Chen Tianxian's people could not come in. Therefore, he had to wait for Lu Li to go. Lu Li had a relaxing time during the past few months. Previously, he was in such a hurry to study the map of fundamental principle that he was preoccupied with other matters. He even forgot to take control of the wicked bead. Now that he was not in a hurry to study the map of fundamental principle, he felt more relaxed. Every day, he would cultivate Xian energy and take control of the seal of the wicked bead and the 2 relics. Relics were harder to take control. If it were a quasi-relic, it would only take half a month. Of course, it was mainly because Lu Li did not have divine energy. Otherwise, it would be easy. When he was free, he would chat with his 3 wives and take a walk in the Valley of Cherry Blossoms. Previously, he had a tour with them. Now, he was with them every day. The 3 were satisfied. The only regret was that she couldn't get pregnant. Lu Li had lost all hope. He knew that he could not solve the problem in the Heaven Reverse universe. Only by going to the immortal world and finding some experts would he be able to solve the riddle and cure his body. Time passed peacefully. After another month, Yi Luo's second son was born. At Lu Hongyu's suggestion, they decided to give the child to Jiang Qiling and the others so that they could adopt the child. Jiang Qiling and the twins were pleasantly surprised. At their age, if Lu Li had no problems, they should have been mothers a long time ago. Now that they had adopted a son, Lu Li would have a descendant. When Lu Li went to the divinity, they would have spiritual sustenance. Jiang Qiling and the others discussed and asked for Lu Xingyang's opinion. In the end, the matter was presented to Lu Li for his decision. Lu Li didn't mind. He and Yi Luo were brothers. Yi Luo's son was no different from his son. Besides, Lu Hongyu was always with Jiang Qiling, Bai Qiuxue and Bai Xiaoshuang. Lu Li nodded. Jiang Qiling and the twins were overjoyed. They even asked Lu Li to name the child. Lu Li thought about it and decided to name the child Luan. He hoped that the child could live a peaceful life. He did not expect the child to be powerful, but he hoped that the child could live a happy and prosperous life. As Lu Li's son, the child would live a happy and prosperous life. In the future, the child might even be more powerful than his father, Yi Luo. After all, Lu Li's influence was overwhelming. Jiang Qiling and the twins left Lu Li aside. They spent all their time with little Lu and Jiang family, and Kong family were filled with regret when they heard the news. If they had known this would happen, they would have found someone to adopt a child for Lu Li as well. That child would not only have great power in the future, but it would also stabilize the relationship between the Yi family and the Lu family. Luan was the link between the Yi family and the Lu family. Lu Xingyang was pleased. Lu Feixue and Ming Yu had a daughter. Lu Xingyang didn't like to take care of family affairs anymore. He spent all his time with his granddaughter and great-grandson. Lu Li didn't feel neglected anymore. He could do anything as long as Jiang Qiling and the twins were happy. He continued to work on the wicked bead and the 2 relics. When he was free, he would study the Slayer's move and the map of fundamental principle of wind. Needless to say, the Slayer's move was powerful. What was more, he had just learned it. Every time he used the Slayer's move, he would be filled with murderous intent. His eyes would turn red. From the Slayer's blood, he could see that when the Slayer used the move, his eyes were not red and he did not have strong killing intent. He was just waving the relic weapon as if he were trying to shoo away flies and mosquitoes. Therefore, his understanding of the Slayer's move was not deep enough. Another thing was, if he could completely understand the Slayer's move, he should be able to become an immortal. God of Barbarians said that he could become an immortal when he learned an origin fundamental principle. 9 months passed. The purple armor in Lu Li's hand suddenly glowed in a purple light. Then, the purple armor disappeared from Lu Li's hand. Nice. Lu Li opened his eyes all of a sudden. His eyes were filled with excitement. He had a spiritual connection with the relic armor. He had taken control of the relic armor. Relic armor on. He suddenly stood up and shouted. Then, his body shone with a purple light, and a beautiful purple armor wrapped around him. A purple helmet appeared on his head, making him look majestic, like a divine general. Impressive. Lu Li moved his body. His agility was not affected at all. It was as if he was wearing a purple robe. He felt cool and comfortable. Nice. With the relic armor, Lu Li had absolute defense. From now on, he no longer had to hide in the wicked bead. He could face any enemies. Lu Li took a few steps in the room and hid the relic armor inside his body. Then, he sat down with his legs crossed in excitement. The relic armor was done, and the relic weapon would be ready soon. It would take him 3 to 5 days at most. He did not have the time to rest. He could not wait to take more control of the relic weapon. He believed that after he took control of the relic weapon, the Slayer's move would be more powerful. After all, he was using a relic weapon. Just as Lu Li had expected, on the 4th day, the saber in his hand suddenly glowed. The saber was pure black. Therefore, the black glare was quite beautiful. This is good. Lu Li waved the relic weapon. He could feel the surging energy and the indescribable might in the relic weapon. He was overjoyed. With the relic weapon and the relic armor, he had no shortcomings in offense and defense. It would be easier for him to conquer the 9 universes. Let me try it. Chapter 11:28. Swish. Outside a forest in the prison of wood, a ray of blood-red sword light whooshed by. The fire-red trees in front of Lu Li were torn apart. The ray of sword light flew for more than 15 miles before it stopped. That was to say, the forest within a radius of more than 15 miles was cut down. This was not an average tree. It was called fire rock tree, meaning that it was as hard as rocks and fire. Even a human sovereign realm warrior would have to spend some time to cut it down. This was the hardest tree in the prison of wood. Swish, soon, another blood-red saber light whizzed over. This time, the saber light was clearly larger than the previous one, and its aura was also more vigorous. Bang bang bang! One fire rock tree after another was cut down. Everywhere the ray of sword light passed by, the fire rock trees would fall. The ray of sword light did not slow down at all. It flew on like an arrow. In the time for a few breaths, it had covered a distance of more than 30 miles, and it did not slow down at all. Boom, boom, boom. After flying for more than 30 miles, the ray of sword light vanished due to the exhaustion of energy. Everywhere the ray of sword light passed by, all the fire rock trees were cut down. Wow, wow, someone exclaimed. Bai Xiaoshuang's cherry lips were agape. She was shocked. Looking at the relic weapon in Lu Li's hand, she exclaimed, "Darling, this relic weapon can double the power. That is impressive." In terms of age, Bai Xiaoshuang should be in her 30s. But in terms of looks and temperament, she was no different from a young girl. Bai Xiaoshuang had been working hard recently. Some time ago, she reached the human sovereign realm. Her life should have been extended as well. Barring any accidents, she could live for 1 or 2,000 years. Compared to 1 or 2,000 years ago, Bai Xiaoshuang was a young girl now. That being said, in history, many powerful warriors with long lives could not live that long. It was not because of accident. It was because they felt that life was pointless and they sought death. On second thought, it was understandable. After a long time, a person would feel that everything was pointless because he or she had experienced everything. When one was old, there would be no more progress in realms. Friends would die one after another, and many children and grandchildren would pass away. They would feel numb, bored, lonely, and sad. Gradually, they would want to die. Of course, there were also many old monsters who were unwilling to give up. They would often look for dangerous places to explore and find dangerous places to cultivate in seclusion. For example, many old monsters in the 9 realms would choose to go to the upper 5 levels of the purgatory of primordial chaos to take a risk and break through to a higher realm. However, most of them would die in the upper 5 levels of the purgatory of primordial chaos. Bai Xiaoshuang was only in her 30s. Naturally, she would not feel numb or bored by life. Lu Li had come out from cultivation. Hearing that he was going to check on the result, she followed him with excitement. Not bad. Lu Li stroked the black saber in his hand. He nodded with satisfaction and said, "This relic weapon can increase the power of my killing move by more than double. Relic weapons are indeed extraordinary." Immortal corpse, come out. Lu Li let out the immortal's body and ordered, "Immortal's body, attack me with half of your strength." Lu Li did not dare to let the immortal's body attack with full force. On the off chance that he could not stand it, his body would explode. A purple relic armor appeared around Lu Li. Xiao! The immortal's body dashed over and landed a punch on Lu Li. The purple relic armor glowed. Lu Li trembled and was smashed away for over 100 feet. He nodded. The relic armor was strong. He was not harmed at all. Whoosh! The immortal's body kept on attacking, smashing Lu Li away again and again. Lu Li focused his mind on the relic armor. He observed for a while and noticed that there was a strange formation inside the relic armor. It was those formations that could dissolve the immortal's body's strength. Lu Li was interested in those formations. He told the immortal's body to keep on attacking while he focused his mind on the relic armor. Every time Lu Li made a move, he could feel a surge of strong energy surging in. But that energy would be dispersed by the formations inside the relic armor. It was like punching into water, stirring up ripples. There is a formation within a formation. Lu Li checked carefully. He noticed that there were many formations inside the relic armor. When the energy spread out from the first formation, it would surge into the other formations one by one. In the end, the energy would disappear. What a powerful formation! What a marvelous and delicate structure! Lu Li nodded after a while. He told the immortal's body to attack with full force. The immortal's body made a sudden move. This time, Lu Li was smashed away for hundreds of feet. So strong! Lu Li closed his eyes to sense. He noticed that the energy coming from the immortal's body was a mass. As soon as it came in, the force exploded, creating a strong impact. No wonder! Previously, when the immortal's body attacked warriors at the peak of the semi-god realm, he could crush them with one punch and turn them into a mist of blood. Now, Lu Li finally understood. When the immortal's body attacked with full force, the energy would surge in and explode. Naturally, when a mass of violent energy exploded in a warrior's body, that warrior would be smashed into pieces. This formation is impressive. Lu Li sensed that many formations inside the relic armor were activated at the same time. They suppressed the explosion directly. What was more, several formations were actively absorbing the energy from the immortal's body's attack. The mass of energy was dispersed and absorbed, which dissolved the violent energy. Immortal's body, stop. Lu Li had sensed the strength of the relic armor. There was no need for the immortal's body to keep attacking. He put away the immortal's body, took out the relic weapon and released a Xian energy attack. Swish, a ray of sword light whooshed over. Lu Li closed his eyes to sense. he noticed that there were many strange formations inside the relic weapon. It seemed that the relic weapon could increase the strength of attacks because of the formations inside. It is a pity that Kamang cannot sense those formations. Otherwise, his inhibition formations would be greatly improved. He could sense the relic because he had taken control of it. There was a spiritual connection. Kamang's psychic power could not go into the relic weapon. Let's go. After a while, Luli was satisfied. He flew to the Valley of Cherry Blossoms with Bai Xiaoshuang. Bai Xiaoshuang did not leave. After a pause, she said, "Darling, why don't you go and check on Little White? Little White is cultivating on its own. Poor thing." Little White? Luli was surprised. He realized that it had been a long time since he paid attention to Little White. Little White was no longer of any help to Luli because its abilities could not keep up. Therefore, Luli did not take Little White with him. Little White was cultivating in the Ding of Barbarian God by itself. Why didn't Little White come to see him? Luli's heart softened at the thought of that little guy. He asked at once, "Where is Little White? Has it been cultivating? Is it still in the Ding of Barbarian God?" "No," Bai Xiaoshuang said with concern. "A few years ago, Little White had been cultivating in the Ding of Barbarian God outside the Valley of Cherry Blossoms. When I came back, you were always cultivating. Little White asked me to take it to the Island of Tranquility. It has been cultivating in the thunderstorm area all day." Somehow, Luli felt guilty. Little White was smart, just like a human being. It must have realized that it could not help Luli. It must have thought that Luli had given it the cold shoulder. Therefore, Little White went to the Island of Tranquility to absorb thunderbolts to cultivate. It wanted to grow stronger so that it could attract Luli's attention and affection. "Let's go to the Island of Tranquility." Chapter 11:29. The Island of Tranquility was still the territory of the Wei family. Many years ago, the island owner was killed and the Wei family appointed a new warrior at the peak of the noble Lord Realm as the island owner. The Heaven Reverse Universe was peaceful. The Wei family was an affiliated family of the Great Buddhist Temple, and the Kong family of the Great Buddhist Temple was one of the four major families. Naturally, nobody dared to provoke the Wei family. The Island of Tranquility had been peaceful all these years. Today, the teleportation formation on the Island of Tranquility suddenly shone, and it was the largest one. The island lord immediately brought people out to welcome them. The largest teleportation array was connected to the Million Buddha City. Someone who could use this teleportation array must be someone important. The teleportation formation flashed for an hour, and 4 silhouettes condensed inside. Countless gazes swept over, and all locked onto a peerless beauty. Beauties were the easiest to attract attention. This beauty was wearing a gorgeous dress and had an elegant temperament. She was a top-notch beauty. However, the island lord's willpower wasn't too bad, and he quickly shifted his gaze to a mighty man to the side. After a glance, he was shocked, because that man was the Wei clan's clan king. When he looked at the person beside him, he was so frightened that his body trembled. That was because there was a dignified old man standing beside him. It was actually the Kong clan king. When he looked at the last person, his legs trembled and he knelt down. That man's portrait had been plastered all over the cities of the Great Land. It was the Grand Master of the Demon-Slaying Hall, the Master of the Heaven Reverse Universe, Luli. Thump, the group of soldiers all knelt down, their faces filled with reverence and fanaticism. The Island Master took the lead and said, "Greetings, Hall Master Lu, Lord Kong, Clan King." Luli waved his hand to tell them to stand up. He looked at the Island of Tranquility and exclaimed. Back then, he was ambushed here and almost killed by Ji Mengtian and the others. The Island of Tranquility was still the Island of Tranquility, but many of its old friends had disappeared. Luli wanted to come here quietly with Bai Xiaoshuang. However, when he passed by the city of Buddha, He alarmed the family patriarchs of the Kong family and the Wei family. After arriving at the Island of Tranquility, he waved his hand and said, "Uncle Kong, please wait here. I'm going to take a look around." "Alright." Kong family patriarch nodded. Luli flew away with Bai Xiaoshuang toward the northwest. There was a black cloud at the end of the sky over there. He could vaguely see lightning and thunder. There were often thunderstorms in this area. Little White should be there. Luli flew over with Bai Xiaoshuang. He used psychic power to check the surroundings. Even though Luli could see the dark clouds, it took him almost an hour to get there. "It's really here." Luli sensed with psychic power that a small beast was moving in and out of the thunderstorm. Luli was filled with affection. After so many years, Little White was still so small, like a kitten. Little White was concentrating on absorbing the energy of thunderbolts, so it didn't notice Luli's approach. Luli and Bai Xiaoshuang observed for a while. He thought for a while, and the purple armor appeared on his body. He asked Bai Xiaoshuang to wait outside, and he rushed into the thunderstorm area. Chi, bolts of thunderbolts whooshed down toward Luli. Luli tried to sense when the first one came down. He discovered that the power of lightning was easily neutralized by the formation inside the god armor. He relaxed. He walked on the waves and soon arrived near Little White. Little White happened to be struck by the lightning and jumped out of the water. Little White turned around in surprise. Delight rose in its eyes when it saw Luli. Then, it put on a look of grievance. It was afraid to come closer. "Little White, come here." Luli waved his hand. Little White put on a big smile and flew over like an arrow. Little White crawled in and out of Luli's body affectionately. It rolled its little tongue around and covered Luli's face with saliva. "Ha, ha, ha, done." Luli took Little White in his hand and flew out. Patting Little White's head, Luli explained, "I have been in closed-door cultivation to overcome a crisis. I did not have time to play with you. Don't blame me." Little White was becoming more intelligent. It shook its head and hopped around Luli's body affectionately, like a happy child. Luli just checked and noticed that Little White was much faster. It must be more powerful now. Luli said in a low voice, "I need to cultivate for a while to dissolve the seal of the wicked bead. When I am done, I will take you to the purgatory of primordial chaos. If I can go to the prison of thunder, I will let you out. The thunderbolts there are strong. If you can absorb the thunderbolts and survive the prison of thunder, you will become a mythical beast. Then, you can go to the divinity with me." Squeak, squeak. Little White's eyes glowed. It nodded like a chick pecking at grains. Luli thought about it and said, "Don't cultivate here. Go back to the prison of wood with me. I will leave in a couple of months. You can cultivate in the Ding of Barbarian God for a couple of months." Squeak, squeak, Little White nodded again. It was delighted that Luli came to see it in person. Over the past few years, Luli had been busy with cultivation and seldom paid attention to Little White. Little White even thought that Luli didn't want it anymore. "Ha, ha, ha, let's go." Carrying Little White in his arms, Luli flew to the Island of Tranquility with Bai Xiaoshuang. They did not linger outside. They teleported into the prison of wood. In the Valley of Cherry Blossoms, Bai Qiushue was cultivating while Jiang Qiling was taking care of Little Lu, and usually, Jiang Qiling and Bai Qiushue would take turns to take care of Little Lu, and Lu Hongyu would come and visit from time to time as well. Little Luan was a couple of months old. His parents were powerful warriors, and he had been taking medicinal baths since he was a kid. Therefore, he was growing up fast. It looked like a 1-year-old child, and it could still walk a few steps. It was very cute. Tell Master of Fairy Fox and Master of Heichi to come. Also, tell Grandpa to come as well. Luli told them. Last time, he promised to set Master of Fairy Fox and Master of Heichi free. When he went to the prison of gold, he would send them back to the Paleobeast realm. He asked Lu Xingyang to come because he wanted to give him the bead of wood. This relic was not particularly strong. Lu Li had a relic armor. The bead of wood was useless to him. He might as well give it to the Lu family as a family treasure. With that said, he could not wait to dissolve the seal of the wicked bead. After that, he would set off for the prison of ice. It had been years since Lu Li last saw Lu Renhuang. Also, he was afraid that warriors of the 9 universes would come after him. Therefore, he wanted to set off as soon as possible and go to the prison of ice to meet Lu Renhuang. It had been a long time since Lu Li dissolved the seal of the wicked bead. Over half of it was gone. The remaining part would only take him 2 or 3 months. Okay. 2.5 months later, the wicked bead glowed. Somehow, some information appeared in Lu Li's mind. He opened his eyes and smiled. He had dissolved the 4th seal of the wicked bead. The wicked bead had a new ability. His speed seemed to have increased. Also, a new hall appeared in the wicked bead. Let's go in and have a look. Lu Li was excited. When the wicked bead first appeared in the hall, there were 3 drops of the Slayer's blood. With the 3 drops of blood, Lu Li had survived 3 crises and learned the Slayer's move. Now that a new hall had appeared, what would be inside? Chapter 1130. Buzzing. Lu Li dashed into a hall which was spacious and had 3 doors. It seemed that the doors were connected to 3 smaller halls. Lu Li was surprised to see that the hall was filled with books. The materials of the books were special. Most of them had turned yellow. They must have been here for a long time. There must be tens of thousands of books here. Lu Li was dumbfounded. Were these skills from the divinity? How could there be so many skills from the divinity? If they were not, then what were the records of the books? Lu Li walked over and picked up a random book. He was even more surprised when he took a look. The title of the book was A Brief Introduction to Formations from the Divinity. Formations and Inhibition Formations? Lu Li was disappointed. He had thought that it was a divinity. He picked up a few other books and flipped through them, finding that they were all similar books. Dragons and Dragons Trigram Formation, 4 Basic Formations, Summary of Spirit Gathering Formations, Formation of Soul Suppression, A Brief Introduction to Forging Relics. Lu Li flipped through the books one by one. After more than 2 hours, he had read thousands of books. He was utterly disappointed. None of the thousands of books he read was about skills from the divinity. They were all about inhibition formations and forging. In other words, all the books here were teaching people how to forge relics. Forging relics was a good thing. In the old days, Lu Li would have been overjoyed if he had one. But now, he had a relic. More importantly, he did not think it was possible to forge relics in the mortal world. After all, there were no special mystical materials. If relics could be forged in the mortal world, then relics would have existed a long time ago. How long had the 9 universes been in existence? There were many forging masters. But who could forge relics? If Lu Li went to the divinity, why would he need to forge relics? He could just buy them or just rob them. Lu Li knew something about the divinity. He knew that average relics were worthless in the divinity. Heaven-grade Xian artifacts like those in the Heaven Reverse universe could be found everywhere. In the immortal realm, only transcendent-grade artifacts were valuable. Could he forge a transcendent-grade artifact? Ridiculous, there were tens of thousands of books here. It would take a long time to finish all of them. Even if Lu Li had enough mystical materials to squander, it would take him dozens or hundreds of years to forge a relic. It had only been 30 years since Lu Li was born. How could he have the patience to study this? Therefore, he turned around, glanced at the remaining books, and decided not to pay attention to them anymore. He walked to the side of the 3 small halls. At the door of one of the small halls, he pushed it lightly, and the door opened automatically. He walked in and glanced around, and the disappointment in his eyes deepened. This was because there were only a few cauldrons and special tools inside, which should be used to forge divine tools. He took a few more glances before retreating to the second hall. This door was also easily pushed open. There were many ores and all kinds of strange crystals in this small hall. This hall had a radius of 10 zhang and was filled with all kinds of strange ores and crystals. Luli didn't know what these things were for, and he didn't dare to touch them for fear that they might be poisonous or flammable. He took a few glances and left. When Luli pushed open the last small hall, he felt dizzy. This hall was even bigger than the main hall outside. It had a circumference of 3,000 meters, and it was filled with all kinds of strange spirit materials. Why does this horn look like a demon's horn? Also, the chi and energy are evil and cold. What kind of beast is this scale from? It's just a scale, but it's actually so powerful? The beast's skull is scary, hiss, hiss. This eyeball can actually release soul attacks? I almost fell into it. Luli stood in there for a while. He felt cold all over and out of breath. There were too many strange, mystical materials in here. The chi and energy from many beast bones frightened him, and the chi and energy from many strange, mystical materials gave him the chills. He didn't dare to stay here any longer. Get out. After a while, Luli dared not to stay any longer. He left quickly. He was afraid that he would be overwhelmed by the chi and energy of some mystical materials if he stayed here for too long. It would be troublesome if something went wrong. Luli walked out and closed the door. He breathed heavily and realized that his back was soaked in sweat. The chi and energy of many mystical materials were so horrifying that he could not stand it even though he was at the semi-god realm. Utensils, mystical materials, ores. Luli stood in a daze for a moment. He had an idea. The hall had everything, including books on inhibition formations, utensils, ores, and mystical materials. If Kumang could come in and study for a while, could he make some relics out of it? No. Soon, Luli shook his head. Kumang's realm was too low. If Kumang were to enter the hall filled with mystical materials, he would be overwhelmed to death by the chi and energy of the mystical materials. The wicked bead came from the divinity. Needless to say, the mystical materials in the wicked bead were all mystical beasts from the divinity. Even though they were just mystical materials left by mystical beasts, average low-level warriors would not be able to stand it. Take that eye for example. If Kumang had taken a few looks at it, he might never wake up again. Let's see if I can make a relic in a short time. Luli was interested. After all, there were so many mystical materials, utensils, and ores. As long as he could learn how to make relics, he could make one after some trial and error. If he could make a relic armor and a relic weapon for the Lu family would be like the Yen family. They would have a strong foundation and could enjoy glory for generations to come. Luli was patient. He went to read the tens of thousands of books. He read several but failed. In the end, he saw an ancient book on the table in the corner. He sat on the lion chair in front of the square table and picked up the book. What he saw were the words, Notes of Master Craftsman Tianlingzi. Master? Luli curled his lips. Was he giving himself the title of a master? How could he write the word master in his notes? Luli opened the book with patience. The first few sentences were all about Tianlingzi's bragging. How impressive he was in the divinity, how many mighty warriors in the divinity begged him to make artifacts, how close he was with some super mighty warriors in the divinity, and how he claimed to be the best craftsman below the third plane in the divinity. Third plane? This was the second time Luli had heard of this. He was confused. How many planes were there in the divinity? Were there several divinity? Luli filtered out all the bragging. He had always been low-key and pragmatic. He never cared about false reputation. He had always believed that a man's greatness was not based on his own words, but on public recognition. Those who liked to brag about themselves were usually not that great. Luli was disappointed when he finished reading the note. According to the notes, this Tianlingzi had studied forging artifacts for 300 years and then worked on relics for 30,000 years before he reached the level of a master. Tianlingzi himself boasted that he was the most talented one in forging artifacts in the divinity for 1,000,000 years. Since this so-called master had spent 30,000 years to reach the level of a master, Luli would not be able to forge a relic without 1 or 2,000 years. Talented as he was, it would take him hundreds of years to forge a relic. He did not have the time or the patience. He had finally dissolved the 4th seal of the wicked bead, but what he got was of little value. Chapter 1131. Let's see how fast the wicked bead is. Luli was reminded that the wicked bead's speed had increased. Luli paid no more attention to the new hall. He flew the wicked bead up and out of the valley of cherry blossoms. Whoosh in midair, Luli flew the wicked bead at full speed. The wicked bead trembled and then began to glow. In a blur, the wicked bead dashed into the distance. Well, Luli sensed it. He was surprised. He felt that the wicked bead was even faster than the immortal's body. The immortal's body was 10 times faster than warriors at the peak of the semi-god realm. If the wicked bead was several times faster, then the wicked bead should be faster than an average immortal. That being said, the wicked bead was said to be a supreme relic. It was understandable that the wicked bead would be faster than an average immortal. After all, supreme relics were treasures that not even mighty warriors in the divinity could have. Wait, on second thought, if the wicked bead really was a supreme relic, then it would be unworthy of the title if this was all it could do. Up until now, the wicked bead had not shown any extraordinary abilities. Its defense was not strong, and its speed was not impressive either. The distance it could travel was too short. Now, there was a hall with materials for forging artifacts, which was not of much use to Luli. Immortal's body, full speed ahead. Luli sent out the immortal's body. He flew for a while and then chased after the immortal's body. A moment later, Luli concluded that the wicked bead should be 3 to 5 times faster than the immortal's body. Theoretically speaking, the wicked bead should be faster than an average immortal. Let's go back. A moment later, Luli put away the immortal's body and flew back in the wicked bead. He did not fly at full speed. On the way back, he was thinking about when it was time to set off. Some blood feuds must be avenged. Otherwise, Luli would dream about his deceased people. He would not be able to live up to his conscience if he did not try his best. I will set off after a month's rest. If Qiling, Qiushue, and Xiaoshuang are willing to go, I will bring them to the purgatory of primordial chaos. Luli had a feeling that he would ascend to the divinity soon. Therefore, he would like to spend as much time as he could with his 3 wives. Back at the Valley of Cherry Blossoms, Luli found that Jiang Qiling and the twins were all there. They were strolling with little Luan in the Valley of Cherry Blossoms. After not seeing him for more than 2 months, little Luan could already walk very well. He looked like a tiger and was very likable. Husband. Seeing that Luli was back, the 3 of them went to greet him with Luan. Luan had never seen Luli before. He said timidly, "Dad." And Luan, "Be good." Luli picked Luan up and patted his head affectionately. Luan was Luli's son now. Even if he didn't adopt Luan, he could be Lu An's godson given his relationship with Yi Luo and Lu Hongyu. Naturally, Luli liked Luan. Lu Jingyang arrived with Master of Fairy Fox and Master of Heiqi after chatting with them for a while. Luli dissolved the soul contract between the 2 on the spot and set them free. "Thank you, my lord." Though Master of Fairy Fox and Master of Heiqi had regained their freedom, they did not dare to do anything. They knew Luli's strength very well. Luli could kill them easily. They no longer hated Luli. After all, Luli had helped them kill many warriors of the Yin family. He had avenged their ancestors. Okay. Lu Li waved his hand. I will set off for the purgatory of primordial chaos in a month. You can go back with me. Master of Fairy Fox and Master of Heichi thanked him and left. Lu Li handed the bead of wood to Lu Xingyang and said, Grandpa, keep this. It will be a treasure of our family. Jiang Qiling had sent a message to Lu Xingyang 2 months ago. The latter knew why Lu Li was looking for him. Lu Xingyang did not take the bead of wood. Instead, he shook his head and said, Lu Li, aren't you going to the prison of gold? Go find your father and give him this artifact. I am too old to use it. Lu Li nodded in agreement. It was said that Lu Renhuang had reached the semi-god realm. He might have a breakthrough in his abilities. The relic would be a great help to him. Lu Xingyang was only at the earth immortal realm. It was pointless for him to have the bead of wood. The disciples of the Lu family have been quiet, haven't they? Did they cause any trouble? It was rare for Lu Xingyang to come over. Lu Li chatted with him for a bit. Lu Xingyang nodded and said, They have been sensible recently. Nobody dares to cause trouble. Only some are enjoying themselves. I don't like to mind them. Lu Li, my father and I have discussed. We have decided to set up a system in the family. What do you think? Oh. Lu Li was interested. He asked, What system? Lu Xingyang organized his thoughts and said, I am going to set up a system in the family, a reward and punishment system. Disciples of the immediate family and the branches can get resources as long as they work hard. If they don't work hard, even the immediate disciples will have their resources reduced and their salaries reduced. They will also be punished. Usually, disciples of the immediate family would enjoy a high status in the family. After all, their fathers enjoyed a high status in the family. They would have all kinds of resources. Even if something went wrong, their fathers would be there to clean up after them. In this way, many playboys had been created, which had led to a bad atmosphere and tarnished the reputation of the Lu family. Lu Xingyang was going to use the punishment and reward system to motivate the disciples to cultivate and adjust their mentality. This was to lay the foundation for the long-term development of the Lu family. The Lu family was prosperous and its status was high. Disciples of the Lu family could do whatever they wanted. For example, Lu Guangding, the patriarch of the Lu family, was intimidated by the Zhao family. At the end of the day, Lu Guangding was not a patriarch of the Lu family. How could he have such a reputation? Lu Li thought for the time for one incense stick to burn before he said, Grandpa, I have a suggestion for you. Select a core disciple from within the family. Regardless of the immediate family or the branches, the core disciple can be recruited as long as he is talented and has a good character. The core disciple can enjoy the highest treatment and power. At the same time, announce to the public that those who are not core disciples of the Lu family are not qualified to call themselves disciples of the Lu family. Let the Hall of Patriarchs have the right to evaluate core disciples. More than half of the patriarchs must approve the core disciples. Core disciple? Lu Xingyang's eyebrows were knitted together. Jiang Qiling and Bai Qiushue's eyes glowed. After a while, Jiang Qiling stood up and said, That is a good idea. Go and invite my grandpa over. In the future, the Jiang family will have this system as well. Darling, this is a wonderful idea. Bai Qiushue agreed. Talent and character are the only things that matter. Also, those who are not core disciples are not qualified to call themselves disciples of the Lu family. This system will pave a way for the disciples of the branches to ascend to the heavens. At the same time, many disciples of the immediate family will be forced to cultivate harder. This is a virtuous cycle. The family will have more powerful warriors. This is a good idea, Lu Xingyang said with hesitation, but I think most patriarchs will object to this idea. After all, this will hurt their interests. Lu Xingyang was right to worry. Once this system was set up, disciples of the immediate family and those of the branches would have the same starting line. If their descendants did not work hard, they would soon be replaced by disciples of the branches. When they died of old age, they would become collateral relatives. The branches that they had been stepping on might turn around and step on them. This system was against the interests of all the patriarchs. Most of the patriarchs would object to it as soon as it was proposed. By then, it would not be a good thing for the family. Chapter 1132. Lu Li's proposal would offend the interests of many people in power in the Lu family. If Lu Xingyang were to carry it out by himself, it would be more difficult than ever. When a family patriarch opposed all the patriarchs, the family patriarch might be boycotted or even be impeached at the Conference of Patriarchs. The Hall of Patriarchs of any family had a supreme power. With the consent of more than half of the patriarchs, the family patriarch could abdicate. Therefore, usually, the family patriarch would not take the risk of offending most of the patriarchs and force the decision. Someone might have thought of Lu Li's proposal before, but it was too difficult to implement. Therefore, it never happened in history. With Lu Li's support, Lu Xingyang didn't have to worry about this. Lu Li's prestige was so high that it was even higher than that of Patriarch of Law Enforcement. Also, Lu Li was unreasonable in certain aspects. If someone was not convinced and came to Lu Li would kick that person out and expel him from the Lu family, if not kill him. Lu Xingyang went back and discussed with Patriarch of Law Enforcement. Patriarch of Law Enforcement agreed with Lu Li's idea. Lu Xingyang called a conference of patriarchs at once and proposed the decision. As expected, most of the patriarchs objected to the proposal. Even great-grandfather 5 expressed his disapproval in a subtle way. Some patriarchs were enraged. They said that if Lu Xingyang insisted on carrying out the proposal, they would leave the Lu family. Lu Xingyang said nothing. After the patriarchs made some high-sounding arguments, filled with righteous indignation, Lu Xingyang said casually, "Lu Li is the one who made the suggestion. He said that he has made up his mind. Anyone who is not convinced can go and argue with him." He also said, "He will not hold back anyone who wants to leave the Lu family." As soon as Lu Xingyang finished his words, the entire place was silent. The patriarchs who were filled with righteous indignation just now sat there in embarrassment. They could not utter a word of rebuttal. Who was Lu Li? He was the leader of the Heaven Reverse Universe. He fought against more than 100 semi-god realm warriors alone, killed most of them, and went to the Waters region. Later on, the Yen family patriarch came with a relic weapon and a relic armor, but he was smashed to death as well. Lu Li's prestige had reached the peak. Some even placed him on the same level as Emperor of Heaven Reverse. He believed that an altar should be set up for Lu Li so that people of the Great Land could worship him day and night. Lu Li's power and prestige were one thing. Patriarchs of the Lu family were afraid of Lu Li's character. Because Lu Li did not grow up in the Lu family, he was not cared for by the Lu family. Furthermore, he had been suppressed and antagonized by the Lu family. He had relied entirely on himself to get where he was and had little to do with the Lu family. He did not have deep feelings for the Lu family. Apart from Lu Xingyang, great-grandfather 5 and a few others, it was hard for the others to talk to Lu Li. Lu Li never gave them the chance to meet and bond. Therefore, if anyone dared to make trouble with Lu Li, they would end up being suppressed by Lu Li by force. There would be no mercy. If he angered Lu Li, he would kill him without mercy. Lu Xingyang had said that Lu Li would not force anyone to quit the Lu family. In other words, these elders could either execute this decision or withdraw from the Lu family. Withdraw from the Lu family? Had their brains been kicked by a donkey? The Lu family was the most powerful family in the Heaven Reverse Universe. The Lu family had occupied the most resources. If they were to abdicate, many powerful warriors would join the Lu family and fight for their positions. Therefore, even though many were against it, the decision was carried out smoothly. Hearing that it was Lu Li's decision, Great-Grandfather 5 said no more and supported the decision. Patriarchs of the Lu family discussed for a day and a night. In the end, they came up with various rules. The rules stated clearly, any disciple of the Lu family, whether they were from the immediate or the branch, under the age of 30 could become a core disciple. Even, the top talents of the affiliated families could become core disciples of the Lu family, provided that they changed their surname to Lu. Core disciples could enjoy the best cultivation resources and could publicize that they were disciples of the Lu family. They could enjoy all kinds of benefits. In other words, core disciples of the Lu family would be the most distinguished young masters and young ladies of the Lu family. The entire Lu family was in an uproar when the news spread out, especially among the younger generation. Many young masters and young ladies of the immediate family gathered together, ready to make a scene. After all, once the rules were implemented, not only would they lose access to the best cultivation resources of the Lu family, they could not even tell others that they were disciples of the Lu family. The Hall of Patriarchs said that it was Lu Li's decision. The young masters and young ladies of the Lu family dared not to make a scene. Lu Zhantian was still waiting for his death in a small town. Who dared to offend Lu Li? After a few days of chaos, the Lu family disciples accepted the reality. The disciples of the branches and branches of the Lu family were overjoyed. Some elites of the affiliated families were overjoyed as well. Many of them might be as talented as disciples of the immediate Lu family. With the best resources they could soar. Many disciples of the Lu family's branches and branches began to cultivate hard, preparing for the comprehensive test in half a month. The disciples of the immediate Lu family stopped fooling around because of the pressure. They began to cultivate. The Lu family had entered a healthy competition. If the system could be implemented, the Lu family would grow stronger and stronger. In a matter of days, the news of the system reform of the Lu family reached the ears of the major families. The four families were the first to receive the news. Jiang Tianshun summoned the patriarchs of the Jiang family overnight for a discussion. However, he was met with strong resistance. Similarly, the family patriarchs of the Yi family and the Kong family wanted to implement the system as well. After all, once the system was implemented, their families would grow stronger. The system would lay a solid foundation for the family's everlasting glory. The family patriarchs of the current generation would be recorded in history. The system offended many people with vested interests. The resistance was greater than before. Yi family, Jiang family, and the Kong family were in a stalemate. On the other hand, the system was implemented by some small families after it was disseminated. The family patriarchs of some 4th and 5th rank families had absolute authority. They enforced the system despite the opposition of the patriarch. There was also a family patriarch of a 5th rank family who was quite domineering. He killed a patriarch and the system was implemented immediately. The larger the family was, the more factions there would be and the more conflicts of interests would be involved. On the other hand, the family members would not act rashly. Otherwise, the family would fall apart, which would be disastrous. Half a month later, the Lu family core disciple selection began. Lu Jingyang asked Lu Li to take charge. Lu Li came with Jiang Qiling, Bai Qiushue, and Bai Xiaoshuang. Many young disciples looked at him with admiration. Amid the passionate cheers of many young disciples and the invitation from patriarchs of the Lu family, Lu Li had no choice but to go to the arena to say a few words. Facing the dense crowd, Lu Li's expressions didn't change. He slowly walked onto the ring, as if he were taking a stroll in his backyard. He glanced over the crowd and said in a low voice. His voice was heard by all the young disciples. Many of you will be grateful to me and many will hate me. What I want to tell you is, we live in hardship and perish in ease. Without a sense of crisis, a family will decline soon. Without a good competitive mechanism, a family cannot produce more powerful warriors. Only those who can fight their way out of a great number of enemies can lead the Lu family to greater heights. If you cannot surpass your own disciples, how can you look down on the others and sweep across the world? Being a disciple of the Lu family is an honor as well as a shackle. I hope that today you will be proud of being a disciple of the Lu family. Tomorrow, the Lu family will be proud of you. Let me be proud of you. Chapter 1133. For the first selection, the Lu clan selected more than 60 core disciples. Less than half of them were disciples from the main family, while the rest were disciples from the side branches and a few elite disciples from the vassal families. Although becoming a core disciple of the Lu family meant that the disciples of the vassal families had to change their surnames to Lu, on the other hand, becoming a core disciple would mean soaring to the sky. Not only would the core disciple have a great reputation in the Heaven Reverse universe, he would also have access to top-level resources. In a few decades, he would become one of the most powerful warriors of the Great Land. Lu Li left the rest of the matter to Lu Xingyang and the others. During this time, he spent most of his time with Jiang Qiling and the other two. Sometimes, he would cultivate Xian energy and consume some soul-nurturing pellet. After reaching the Earth Immortal Realm, the cultivation of dark force and soul was no longer important. What was important was the enlightenment of profound meaning. Of course, if one's profound energy could be thicker and their soul could be stronger, it would still be of some help to their strength. Lu Li had asked Jiang Qiling, Bai Qiuxue and Bai Xiaoshuang. None of them wanted to leave the prison of gold with him. Jiang Qiling and Bai Qiuxue had to take care of Lu and Bai Xiaoshuang wanted to go with them, but then she remembered that Lu Li was going to a dangerous place. By then, she would have to stay in the Wicked Bead every day. It would be pointless for her to go. Lu Li didn't insist. He planned to take Little White with him and He-Yu, of course. After all, He-Yu was needed to monitor the overall situation. He-Yu was not Lu Li's spiritual beast, but Lu Li did not intend to let her go back to the Palea Beast realm. Instead, he asked He-Yu to relocate the Bond Beasts to the Heaven Reverse universe. The Bond Beasts would be affiliated to the Lu family and given priority in resources. Naturally, He-Yu agreed. Going back to work for Master of Fairy Fox would not lead to a bright future. Lu Li was a powerful warrior that could kill the Yen family patriarch. Also, He-Yu knew that Lu Li was going to leave a relic for the Lu family. She believed that before Lu Li went to the divinity, he would make arrangements for the Lu family. Her family would have a bright future if they stayed with the Lu family. Lu Li called Kumang to the Valley of Cherry Blossoms and then gave him 10 books on inhibition formations. He didn't want Kumang to read, but to copy. There were too many books on formations in that hall, and many of them were divine formations. For the Sky Illusion tribe, which loved formations and restrictions, it was the most precious treasure. For Kumang, the 10 books on formations selected by Lu Li were more valuable than 10 relics. Even though Kumang could not refine divine weapons, he could still copy the restriction books, and the Heavenly Illusion tribe would have a super treasure. The Heavenly Illusion tribe might soar in the future because of this. Kumang flipped through it for a while and was moved to tears. He immediately knelt down and swore that the Heavenly Illusion clan would be loyal to the Lu family for generations to come. It would also be the first rule of the Heavenly Illusion clan. Lu Li allowed Kumang to come in and copy books because he wanted to leave a powerful helper for the Lu family. Kumang would be able to create many powerful divine formations after obtaining them, which would be of great help to the Lu clan. The Heavenly Illusion tribe was not good at fighting, but they were good at formations. Such a tribe usually needed to rely on a strong family so that both sides could benefit from each other. Lu Li didn't let Kumang copy all the books on inhibition formations because he was afraid that the Shadowland race would grow too strong for the Lu family to suppress. Instead, the Shadowland race might swallow the Lu family. This wouldn't have happened when Kamang was still alive. What if the heavenly illusion race surpassed the Lu family after thousands or tens of thousands of years? One must always be on guard against others. A month later, Lu Li set off on his journey. Many people came to bid farewell. Almost all the top warriors of the Heaven Reverse universe were here. Jiang Qiling and the twins said nothing. But it was clear that they were unwilling to see Lu Li go. It seemed that Lu Li would never come back after this. Squeak, squeak, standing on Lu Li's shoulder, Little White was happy. This time, Lu Li didn't even bring the dragon demon with him. He let the dragon demon continue to eat the Fey beast egg to evolve. After all, the dragon demon was not psychic yet. It was not strong enough. Master of Fairy Fox and Master of Heichi followed behind Lu Li with respect. They didn't show any emotion on their faces, but they were thrilled. Finally, they could go back. They would be free. Behind them were some beasts like the Shadow Bat. Now that the threat from the 9 universes was over, it was pointless to keep them around. Let's go. Lu Li waved his hand and nodded to Jiang Qiling, Bai Xiaoshuang, and Bai Qiushu. He let Master of Fairy Fox and the twins into the wicked bead and himself. Then, he flew away in a blur. What? Many people were taken aback. When did the wicked bead become so fast? In an instant, the wicked bead vanished into the distance. It must be faster than the immortal's body. Many people exclaimed that Lu Li's abilities were becoming more and more enigmatic. Some people were disappointed. The more powerful Lu Li was, the closer he would be to the divinity. Kamang was waiting at the entrance to the prison of earth from the prison of wood. When Lu Li arrived, Kamang could undo the seal in time. Saint Lord, bon voyage. Kamang bowed to Lu Li with respect. This time, Lu Li did not bring Kamang with him. After all, Kamang would not be able to use Kamang's inhibition formations when he was going to crack the divine Imperial City. Kamang might as well stay at home and study the 10 books. Okay. Lu Li waved his hand and went to the towering mountain. Kamang watched Lu Li leave and then sealed the entrance with inhibition formations. After a glare, Lu Li appeared in the prison of Earth. He had activated the relic armor in case he was ambushed. Though Earth Immortal Realm warriors and Semi-God Realm warriors of the 9 universes could not enter the prison of Earth, it was better to be careful. As soon as he came out, he used psychic power to check. Near the entrance, he found some scouts and some dwarfs that could cloak. Lu Li snorted. The wicked bead glowed as Master of Fairy Fox and Master of Heichi came out. Waving his hand, Lu Li said, "There are scouts nearby. Kill them all." Whoosh! Master of Fairy Fox and Master of Heichi flew over. Master of Fairy Fox was as powerful as a semi-god realm warrior and her soul was strong. Those invisible scouts could not escape from her detection. Whoosh! A warrior at the peak of the human sovereign realm came from the distance. He shouted from the distance, "Lord Lu, I am Chen Jin. My great-grandpa is Chen Tianxian." Lu Li waved his hand to tell Master of Fairy Fox and Master of Heichi not to worry about this person and to go and kill those dwarfs. Chen Jin dropped to his knees in front of Lu Li and said, "Greetings, my lord." Lu Li nodded. Chen Jin was young, less than 20 years old. He could reach the Earth Immortal Realm at any time. Even in the Chen family, he could be regarded as a talented disciple. The fact that Chen Tianxian asked Chen Jin to contact Lu Li indicated that Chen Jin enjoyed a high status in the family. Lu Li waved his hand to ask Chen Jin to stand up. "How is your great-grandpa doing?" "Thank you, Lord. Great-grandpa is doing well." Chen Jin stood up and said with respect, "The Chen family has conquered the Central Imperial Universe. Great-grandpa said that everything is a gift from you. He asked me to come here to tell you about the situation in the 9 universes and to follow you and show you the way." Good. Lu Li was satisfied with Chen Jin's attitude. Chen Jin was young and came from a major family, but he was not arrogant. That was rare and commendable. What Luli did not know was how famous he was in the 9 universes. Even patriarchs of major families in the 9 universes would not dare to show off in front of Luli, let alone Qin, a young master of the Qin family. Chapter 1134. Soon, all the scouts were killed. But Luli knew that when he went up, he would not be able to keep it a secret. The Yen family must have sent scouts along the way. Let's go. When Master of Fairy Fox and the others came back, Luli put them all into the wicked bead and flew away. In the inner hall, Luli took out some tables and chairs and asked Qin to explain the situation in the 9 universes. Qin spoke leisurely, his attitude extremely respectful the entire time. He did not know that Chen Tianxian had become Lu Li's sole slave. But Chen Tianxian had told him many times that if he dared to be rude to Lu Li, he would be thrown into the prison of heaven for 100 years. Chen Jin's explanation gave Lu Li a better understanding of the situation in the 9 universes. All the entrances and exits were sealed. It was difficult to get in, especially in the divine imperial universe. The 3 entrances and exits were sealed off. It would take Chen Tianxian at least 10 years to open them up. Formations from the divinity were powerful. The Yen family had given up all the universes and small worlds they controlled. They were hiding in the divine imperial universe. To wipe out the Yen family, Lu Li must go to the divine imperial universe. Many warriors from different families had come back. Lu Li did not mind. With the immortal's body, no warrior at the peak of the semi-god realm would be of any use. He could kill one at a time. It will take 10 years to open the entrances? This was a headache for Lu Li. 10 years was a long time for him, and he could not rest during the 10 years. Besides, Chen Tianxian could not stop for 10 years. If he was harassed by the warriors of the Yen family during the attack, all his previous efforts would be in vain. Never mind. Let's go to the prison of gold first. Lu Li shook his head. He would go to the prison of gold and meet Chen Tianxian first. He said nothing and closed his eyes to rest. Qin sat on the side. The wicked bead was much faster than the immortal's body. Previously it would take 10 days. Now it would only take 2 to 3 days to cross the prison of earth. When Lu Li dashed out and entered the prison of water, Qin still did not know what had happened. Lu Li did not explain. He flew the wicked bead forward. At the entrance to the Palea Beast realm, he let out Master of Fairy Fox, Master of Heichi, and the other beasts. Master, from now on, the Fairy Foxes and the Heichi will follow your lead. If you need anything, please come to the Palea Beast realm and tell us. We will do our best. Master of Fairy Fox did not leave right away. She bowed to Lu Li with respect, and so did Master of Heichi. Thank you. Lu Li nodded. In the future, you can go to the Lu family for help if you run into any difficulties. Now go. Take care of the Palea Beast realm. Lu Li waved his hand and flew into the wicked bead. Master of Fairy Fox and Master of Heichi were still there. The two of them looked at each other and sighed. They had thought that they would lose their freedom for the rest of their lives after becoming Lu Li's sole slave. Little did they expect that Lu Li would keep his word and set them free so easily. They felt like they were dreaming. A person like that is destined to soar to the heavens. I bet even in the immortal world, he'll rise quickly and look down on everyone. Master of Fairy Fox exclaimed. Then, she said, Master of Heichi, do not hate Lu Li. Instead, he wanted to befriend the Lu family. Maybe because of Lu Li, the Palea Beasts will soar. The Palea Beast realm only had one beast to be. Master of Heichi had to listen to Master of Fairy Fox. Also, he admired Lu Li. Master of Heichi nodded. Lu Li is indeed a talent of the human race. His future achievements will be beyond our imagination. Lu Li flew away in the wicked bead. In just over 3 days, he was standing on the land of the prison of gold. When Luli let Chen Jin out from the wicked bead, Chen Jin was stunned. In 5 or 6 days, Luli had arrived at the prison of gold from the prison of earth? The speed of the wicked bead was astonishing. Luli paid no attention to Chen Jin's astonishment. He glanced over the prison of gold with mixed feelings. The first time he came here, he was held hostage by Leng Wuxin. He went to the entrance of the Central Imperial Universe on his own and almost died on several occasions. It was here that he met Yin Qingxi. Right, Yin Qingxi. The beautiful blind came to Lu Li's mind. Chen family had occupied the Central Imperial Universe. Didn't they have conflicts with the crippled Zen master? How was Yin Qingxi doing? Chen Jin. Lu Li asked in a hurry. Chen family has occupied the Central Imperial Universe. The crippled Zen master didn't stop you? Have you seen Yin Qingxi? The crippled Zen master? Yin Qingxi? Chen Jin was confused. Then, he remembered something and shook his head. The crippled Zen master is gone, and so is that blind. They have been gone for many years, more than 10 years. The Zen mountain has been deserted for a long time. Lu Li was taken aback. The crippled Zen master and Yin Qingxi were gone? Where could the two of them disappear to? Were they killed? Did something happen to them? Who killed them? Lu Li said coldly. Yin Qingxi and the crippled Zen master had done him a great favor. He would not let go of anyone that killed them. They were not killed. Chen Jin said with certainty, Lord, you should know that there is a formation at the Zen mountain. Many powerful warriors of the Mage Imperial Universe have tried for 3 years, but to no avail. Therefore, it is not easy to kill the crippled Zen master. The Chen family did not receive any information. Nobody attacked the Zen mountain. It was as if he vanished without a trace and never showed up again. What? Lu Li could not figure it out. How could 2 living people disappear all of a sudden? That being said, he had calmed down a bit. The formation at the Zen mountain was impressive, and the crippled Zen master was horrifying as well. Back then, the crippled Zen master could gather one hand and grab the wicked bead easily. Lu Li suspected that the crippled Zen master had become an immortal. Did they go to the divinity? Lu Li frowned. Could it be that the crippled Zen master was an immortal, and he brought Yin Qingxi down to the mortal world for a tour? Did he return to the divinity more than a decade ago? However, Emperor of Heaven Reverse and Yen Tiangang could not go down to the mortal world. If the crippled Zen master could go down at will and bring Yin Qingxi to the divinity, how powerful would he be? He must be a super mighty warrior in the divinity at the very least. Lu Li had a feeling that the crippled Zen master and Yin Qingxi were hiding a great secret. Maybe they both had extraordinary backgrounds. There was one thing that Lu Li did not understand. If the crippled Zen master was so powerful, why did he stay at the Central Imperial Universe for 3,000 years? Never mind. Now that the crippled Zen master was gone, Lu Li could not dwell on it any longer. If they were destined to meet again, the truth would come out. Contact your great-grandpa, Lu Li said after some thoughts. I will go to the prison of ice first. Tell him to wait for me at the entrance of the prison of ice. I will talk to him when I come down from the prison of ice. Lu Li planned to meet Lu Renhuang first and then discuss with Chen Tianxian how to breach the divine imperial universe and wipe out the Yen family. P.S. Chapter 4. More to come. Chapter 1135. Lu Renhuang was in the prison of ice, but Lu Li did not know his exact location. The patriarch that came back last time went to the prison of ice again. It was said that the patriarch was trying to make a breakthrough in the prison of ice. The prison of ice was vast. Lu Renhuang would often wander around, looking for opportunities to make a breakthrough or some marks of nature's rhythms. Lu Li left Chen Jin behind and left in the wicked bead by himself. Since Chen Tianxian had sent Chen Jin to contact Lu Li, he must have something special about him. He should be able to return to the central imperial universe. The wicked bead flew away in a blur. It was fast and fearless. Luli was afraid of nobody in the prison of gold, or even the entire purgatory of primordial chaos and the 9 universes. Luli didn't care even if some warriors had special means. He had no shortcomings in both offense and defense. The wicked bead was fast. He could go anywhere he wanted. Luli was worried about Lu Renhuang. Therefore, he did not control his speed and dashed around. In merely 2 hours, a warrior cultivating in seclusion was alerted. However, this warrior might have been in closed-door cultivation, so he did not realize what was going on. By the time he was alerted, the wicked bead had flown away from his territory. The warrior flew up, trying to chase after the wicked bead, only to realize that he could not catch up with it. What is that? Is it some powerful creature? The warrior's cloudy eyes were filled with astonishment. He had lived for more than 2,000 years, and this was the first time he had seen something so fast. Unfortunately, the wicked bead had flown away. He could not catch up with it even if he wanted to. Luli was using psychic power to check the outside from inside the wicked bead. Naturally, the warrior had noticed. But Luli did not mind and continued to fly the wicked bead. 09 Small Sag Net. He used psychic power to check because he wanted to try his luck to see if he could run into disciples of the Yen family. If he did, he would not be soft-hearted. He would kill as many as he saw. Whoosh! After flying for another hour, a silhouette shot out from a golden mountain on the left. It was obvious that it was an old monster who had been alarmed. Unfortunately, his reaction was too slow. It was impossible for him to stop the warrior. The wicked bead had flown away. Along the way, many warriors were alarmed. The prison of gold was a large place where many warriors were cultivating. Flying over their heads without the slightest scruple was a great provocation to them. Luli did not mind. He was doing this on purpose. He wanted to let the warriors of the 9 universes know that he was here, at the prison of gold. He would find a way to conquer the other universes and wipe out their families. When the news that he had come to the prison of gold spread out, everyone would feel insecure. Naturally, no one dared to go to the Heaven Reverse universe. Of course, even if they went to the Heaven Reverse universe, apart from slaughtering some civilians, it would be pointless. Instead, it would enrage Luli. 6 hours later, Luli was finally stopped. It was not one warrior, but 4 warriors, all at the semi-god realm. Buzzing, the space in the sky suddenly fluctuated. Following that, huge cracks appeared. The cracks intertwined with each other, forming a huge net. It felt no different from the inescapable net of the teleportation array. The space. Li was of Li, Luli's. Was. Luli stopped the wicked bead. He was curious. This skill should be a profound meaning of space, a very powerful one at that. The net extended over quickly, covering up the space around the wicked bead. Now, the wicked bead had become a prison. Luli didn't dare to move when he saw the cracks in space. What if he got stuck in one and couldn't get out? Whoosh! An old monster appeared in each of the 4 directions, and all of them looked extremely old. The skin on their faces and hands were all wrinkled, and their eyebrows and hair were almost all gone. Their eyes were turbid, and the aura of old age was very strong. The 4 of them were obviously in the deity transformation realm, but it was impossible to tell exactly what realm they had reached. "What treasure is this?" an old monster asked in a hoarse and bewildered voice. The other old monster in yellow robes gave it a few glances and his eyes lit up slightly. He said, "It should be a god artifact. Otherwise, it would be impossible for it to be so fast." Hee. The third old monster let out a few strange laughs and said in a strange tone, "No matter what kind of treasure it is, let's take it first. Whoever grabs it first will get it." "Do it." The last old monster didn't waste any time and directly attacked. He generated a huge hand shadow and reached into the crack in space. The hand's shadow pierced through the crack and grabbed the wicked bead. That being said, the hand's shadow could not move the wicked bead even a little bit. Luli did not let the wicked bead move. Not even dozens of semi-god realm warriors could make the wicked bead tremble. What? The yellow-robed old man said in surprise. Then, he teleported into the space cage and reached out his skinny hand to grab the wicked bead. Swish, swish. The yellow-robed old man grabbed the wicked bead. His hand was emitting yellow smoke. Luli sensed that the wicked bead was consuming a large amount of energy. This old man was quite strong. Luli snorted. The wicked bead glowed and then the immortal's body came out. He punched at the yellow-robed old man. The wicked bead's appearance was too sudden. The yellow-robed old man might have a high opinion of himself because he did not run away at once. Seeing the immortal's body, the yellow-robed old man's cloudy eyes were filled with surprise. Streaks of yellow smoke spread out from him. He slapped and was about to fly away. Bang! The toxic smoke was of no use to the immortal's body. The yellow-robed old man's hand was not as fast as the immortal's body. The immortal's body's golden fist landed on the old man easily. Bang! The yellow-robed old man exploded into a mist of blood, which scared the other 3 warriors to death. They knew clearly about the yellow-robed old man's means. Not even they dared to get close to the yellow toxic smoke. Besides, the yellow-robed old man had always been strong in defense. They did not expect that he would be killed in one punch. Buzzing, the wicked bead glowed again. The immortal's body dashed back into the wicked bead. Then, the wicked bead gave out a cyan glare. The next second, the immortal's body vanished and reappeared 30 miles away. Luli used the wicked bead's space transference ability. Immortal's body go, Luli ordered. Since those warriors were tired of living, then it was time to send them on their way. The immortal's body dashed out from the wicked bead again, and dashed toward the 3 warriors in a blur. Run, without any hesitation, 2 of the 3 fled to the left and right. Since the yellow-robed old man was no match for the headless body, the only outcome for them would be death if they stayed. Plop, the other warrior dropped to his knees. He kowtowed to the wicked bead without any backbone and said, "Lord, I am as blind as a bat. I have offended you. Please be magnanimous and let me go." Bang! At first, the immortal's body targeted the warrior on the left. That warrior was not fast. The immortal's body caught up with him easily and turned him into a mist of blood. When the immortal's body flew over and was about to kill the warrior on his knees, Luli stopped him. "Never mind. Spare his life." A warrior that had lived for more than 1,000 years was kowtowing to Luli so much that there was a pit on the ground. Chapter 1136. The other semi-god realm warrior had run away. Luli didn't bother to go after him. Luli used psychic power to check on the semi-god realm warrior. After some thoughts he asked, "Why did you stop me? Did someone tip you off?" The wicked bead was fast. Usually, people would not have time to react. Someone must have tipped him off since he was here. Luli didn't kill the old warrior because he wanted to get some information. "Lord, yes." The old warrior answered with respect, "Lord, when you flew over Chongfeng's territory, you alerted him. He used a secret skill to send us a message. Wasp and the 3 of us worked together to stop you. Lord, we are blind. Please spare our lives." With that said, the old warrior kowtowed again. Luli was speechless. How did this warrior reach the semi-god realm? He had no backbone, no courage to move forward, no determination to face death. Could he survive all the crises he faced in the past by kowtowing? Chongfeng? Not the Yen family? Luli was surprised. He thought it was the Yen family's arrangement or instigation. Luli asked, "You don't know who I am?" The old warrior shook his head. "I don't know. Lord, may I know your name?" Lu Li observed the old warrior's expressions and didn't notice anything strange. If the old warrior was not good at acting, then the old warrior wouldn't know who Lu Li was or the origin of the wicked bead. Lu Li said, "I can spare your life, but you must do something for me." Okay. The old warrior was overjoyed. He bowed and said, "Lord, please tell me. I can do 10 things for you, let alone one." Lu Li snorted. "Don't talk big. I want you to conquer the divine, imperial city. Do you have the ability?" The old warrior was embarrassed. He didn't waste any more words. Lu Li said, "Send a message for me. Don't covet my wicked bead. I can kill even the Yen family patriarch, and I don't mind killing more. I will not show mercy to anyone who dares to stop me. Tell the warriors in the purgatory of primordial chaos that my name is Lu Li. Don't mess with me." Wicked bead, Lu Li. The old monster's pupils shrank as he exclaimed, "So it's you, m'lord?" This time, this old man really had eyes but failed to see. "Thank you for not killing me, my lord." Many warriors cultivating in the prison of gold did not pay attention to the outside world, and they did not try to find out. That being said, Lu Li's reputation had spread. After all, he had killed the tribe leader of the Yen family. This level of combat prowess was something that many old monsters felt inferior to. In the 9 universes, power was everything. Even though Lu Li was young, his strength was admirable. Lu Li was convinced when the old warrior addressed him as Lord. Whoosh, Lu Li put away the immortal's body and flew away in the wicked bead. He didn't want to waste time with this warrior, and he didn't want to kill his way over. His personality had always been like this. If you didn't provoke him, he wouldn't take the initiative to look for trouble. But if you did provoke him, it would be a fight to the death. As he continued flying, he alarmed quite a few old monsters along the way. However, this time there was no one to intercept him, and he was able to fly away with ease. 8 to 10 hours later, Lu Li noticed that wherever the wicked bead flew past, not only did the old warriors stop him, they would run away as soon as they saw the wicked bead. That old warrior must have spread Lu Li's words. The old warriors in the prison of gold knew who he was, and they didn't dare to provoke him. Lu Li had been flying in the prison of gold for a long time, but he didn't run into too many young warriors. The families must have called back the young warriors that came out for training, fearing that they might run into Lu Li and be killed. But there were many scouts lurking on the way. Lu Li's psychic power was strong enough that he could detect some of them. He didn't kill those scouts because there were too many of them. It didn't matter to Lu Li. Lu Li didn't want to go looking for trouble. He had his mind set on going to the prison of ice. Nobody would disturb him, and he could enjoy peace and quiet. 3 days later, he arrived at the entrance to the prison of ice. What? Someone is not afraid of death? At the entrance to the prison of ice, Lu Li saw an old man with white eyebrows from the distance. He was blocking the entrance, clearly waiting for Lu Li. Lu Li stopped the wicked bead at the entrance to the prison of ice, only 2 miles away from the old man with white eyebrows. The old man's white eyebrows twitched. He opened his eyes. His eyes were not cloudy at all. Instead, they were as sharp as blades. He was emitting a strong energy. Lu Li used the wicked bead to check. This old man with white eyebrows should be at the peak of the semi-god realm. The old man said nothing, nor did he do anything. He just stared at the wicked bead. After a while, Lu Li asked, "What do you want by blocking my way?" The old man raised his eyebrows and said, "Young man, I heard that you killed Yanzhen? You took 2 relics from the Yen family? Is your wicked bead a nice relic as well? Are you here to pick a fight?" Lu Li's heart was weighed down. He sounded unfriendly. "You are right. What? You want to take the 3 relics? Don't make it sound so harsh." The old man suddenly stood up. His whole body became sharp like an unsheathed sword. He said coldly, "Divine artifacts belong to the virtuous. Young man, you're still too young. Now that you're holding 3 divine artifacts, it's inevitable that a tall tree will attract the wind. An innocent man will get into trouble because of his wealth. Have you ever heard of this? Give me the 3 relics and I will take you as my protégé. I will make sure that you can dominate the 9 universes for the rest of your life. How about that? Well, I forgot to tell you. My nickname is Recluse of Eastern Cliff. Back in the 9 universes, I dominated the 9 universes alone. Even the Yen family had to show me respect. Luli did not want to hear what the old man had to say. He shook his head and sneered. Did this Recluse of Eastern Cliff really think he was somebody? How could this old man say that he would take Luli as his protégé? Dominate the 9 universes? Why didn't he conquer the divine imperial city, kill Yenzhen, and take away the relic? Luli did not want to waste time with this old man. He released the immortal's body at once and said, "Old man, if you can survive the immortal's body's attack, then you will be worthy of my help. If you want the relics, talk is not going to work. Come and get them with your abilities." Swish, the immortal's body spread his wings and dashed away in a blur. He punched at Recluse of Eastern Cliff. The immortal's body was so fast that it was frightening. "Punk, since you refuse to come to your senses, then let's have a fight," Recluse of Eastern Cliff said coldly, but the immortal's body had already landed a punch on him. What surprised Luli was that Recluse of Eastern Cliff's body did not explode. Instead, he was disappearing as if he was being eroded. Shadow. Soon, Luli came back to his senses. Recluse of Eastern Cliff's body had reappeared behind the wicked bead. A black longbow appeared in his hand, and with a sudden pull, a dozen long arrows whistled through the air. Swish, the immortal's body turned around and flew toward Recluse of Eastern Cliff. However, when the immortal's body landed on Recluse of Eastern Cliff's body, the latter was eroded and vanished without a trace. "You do have some skills." Chapter 1137. Recluse of Eastern Cliff's real body moved quietly. Luli could not tell with psychic power how he did it. This warrior said that he could defeat the 9 universes. Luli could not tell if it was true or not. But he did have some tricks up his sleeve. Buzzing, Luli released some feather wind. Feather wind filled the space with wind energy. When the Asmodean Lord hid in the cracks in space, feather wind could detect him as well. Luli kept releasing feather wind. Soon, an area with a radius of 30 miles was filled with feather wind. Luli began to sense with psychic power. The result surprised him. The feather wind could not find out where this warrior was. Every time Recluse of Eastern Cliff shot out more than a dozen arrows, by the time the immortal's body flew over, Recluse of Eastern Cliff would disappear and reappear on the other side without any signs. This was not teleportation or traveling through cracks in space. Teleportation and space travel would cause ripples in space. Luli was surprised that there was no change in the space at the moment. Bang, bang, bang! More and more arrows were coming. Luli sensed that this warrior was quite strong. The wicked bead's energy would be drained fast if Recluse of Eastern Cliff kept attacking. Immortal's body, come back! Without a soul, the immortal's body was not flexible. It was pointless to chase after Recluse of Eastern Cliff. Luli put the immortal's body back into the wicked bead. "Ha ha ha!" Recluse of Eastern Cliff laughed and said with mockery, "Punk, now you know that there is always someone better than you out there. I am not afraid to tell you that this is the profound meaning of shadow. No one in the world that can kill me has been born yet." "Is that so?" All of a sudden, Luli dashed out from the wicked bead. The relic armor appeared and the relic weapon in his hand glowed in a dark light. Luli swung the weapon and hacked at Recluse of Eastern Cliff. As soon as the move was taken, the weather changed. Xian-Qi in heaven and earth was affected. Xian-Qi surged toward Recluse of Eastern Cliff and subdued him. How is this possible?" Recluse of Eastern Cliff's eyes was filled with blood when he saw the blood-red ray of sword light whooshing over. From the depth of his soul, he sensed a fatal danger. He shouted in terror, "No!" Boom! The blood-red saber radiance shot out, and Eastern Cliff patron was struck by it. His body exploded into a mist of blood, and he could not have been more dead. In the distance, some scouts from the various factions were hiding. When they witnessed this scene, their faces turned pale with fright. Householder Eastern Cliff was indeed very famous in the Nine Realms. Back then, he had caused chaos in the Nine Realms, not because he was ridiculously strong, but because he had comprehended the profound meaning of shadow, which made him the best at escaping in the Nine Realms. The old freak had lived for more than 1,000 years and had always been a headache for the families. Nobody expected that he would die in the hands of Luli today, and in one move no less. Luli knew about the scouts. He put away the wicked bead and walked toward the towering mountain, paying no attention to the scouts. It was good to let them spread the news so that they wouldn't be intercepted again. He walked towards the heaven-span mountain step by step and soon disappeared into the clouds. After a flash of white light, Luli's sight was filled with white light. The temperature around him dropped by a lot. Even with his power, Luli still felt cold. Icy hell. The upper 5 levels of the purgatory of primordial chaos were rumored to be fraught with danger. Even a soul transformation realm expert could die if they were not careful. Luli was amazed by the temperature, not to mention how dangerous it was here. Not even average human sovereign realm warriors could stand it. Luli mobilized Xian energy to drive away the cold air. He looked around and enjoyed the view in the prison of ice. As far as he could see, there was snow and glaciers everywhere. Snowflakes were falling from the sky, and the cold wind was blowing. It was bleak. It was said that there were more warriors in the prison of ice and prison of wind than in the prison of gold. That was because young people from different realms in the prison of gold liked to train. Many warriors didn't like to be disturbed, so they came to the prison of ice and prison of wind to cultivate. There were many mountains in the prison of ice and some strange trees. There were even some flowers and grasses. Those must be some kind of miraculous elixirs. Luli didn't care about those elixirs. He went back into the wicked bead after a while. He could stand the cold outside, but he was not a masochist. He didn't need to study the profound meaning related to ice. Naturally, he felt comfortable in the wicked bead. He didn't know which way to go, so he chose a random direction. The wicked bead was not traveling at its top speed. He wanted to find someone and ask if they had seen Lu Renhuang. After flying for only 2 hours, he encountered an old monster who was cultivating in seclusion. Furthermore, that old monster was cultivating at the bottom of a frozen lake, and he had sensed a trace of his aura. Luli stopped the wicked bead, but the warrior didn't come out. The warrior only used psychic power to check the wicked bead and then retracted it. Clearly, he didn't want to talk to Luli. Luli wanted to ask about Lu Renhuang. So, he said politely, "Sorry to interrupt, but I am looking for someone. I don't have time. Piss off," the old warrior said in a cold tone. Luli touched his nose in embarrassment. He was hesitating. He didn't want to stir up trouble. After a moment, he decided to leave and find someone else to ask. However, the old warrior said again, "Piss off. Do you have a death wish?" Luli was enraged. He dashed out and said coldly, "Come on, let me see how you are going to kill me." Swish, swish, the old warrior didn't refuse. Luli didn't see him do anything, but the wind and snow around him suddenly formed a dragon of snow in midair and smashed down at Luli. Bang! The dragon of snow smashed into Luli. The purple relic armor glowed. The dragon of snow exploded. Snow and ice splashed around. Luli didn't even tremble. All the strength was absorbed by the relic armor. Really? The old warrior was surprised. He said with mockery, "So, you have a relic armor. No wonder you are so arrogant. Who are you to the Yin family? You have reached the semi-god realm at such a young age. I didn't know that the Yin family had such a talent. It is understandable that Yen Zhen gave you the relic armor." Clearly, the old warrior didn't know what was going on outside. He thought Lu Li was a talent of the Yin family and the relic armor was given to him by Yen Zhen. "I am not from the Yin family," Lu Li said coldly. "As for the relic armor, I killed Yen Zhen and got it. I just want to ask you something. You are the arrogant one, aren't you?" "Really?" The old man was even more shocked. He broke out from the ice at the bottom of the lake. Looking at Lu Li in confusion, he asked, "You killed Yen Zhen? Are you kidding me? You are only at the initial stage of the semi-god realm. How can you kill Yen Zhen?" Buzzing, the black relic weapon appeared in Lu Li's hand. He sneered. "Even if I am from the Yin family, Yen Zhen will not give me the relic weapon. Everyone in the 9 universes knows that I killed Yen Zhen. You can go and ask around." "What?" Finally, the old warrior was moved. He sized Lu Li up and said with respect, "I have not paid attention to the outside world for millions of years. I didn't know that there are talents like you in the 9 universes. I take back what I said. I have cultivated for so long that my temper has become strange. I hope you can forgive me." Lu Li was a man who could be persuaded by reason but not cowed by force. Since the old warrior was being polite, Lu Li put away the relic weapon, cupped his fists and said, "No discord, no concord. You are a senior. I am sorry to have disturbed your cultivation." "What?" The old warrior looked at Lu Li and said with surprise, "My friend, I think you look like someone. That person is young as well. We got to know each other after a fight. Both of you are extremely talented. Could it be that you are brothers? Alike?" Chapter 1138. Yes. The old man's wrinkled face trembled. He nodded and said, "His name is Lu Renhuang. Is he really your brother?" "No, that is my father." Lu Li touched his nose in embarrassment and said, "Sir, do you know where my father is now? That is what I wanted to ask you." "Ha, ha, ha." The old man laughed. Stroking his beard, the old man said, "I didn't know that you are the son of an old friend. TSK, you and your father are freaks. I noticed your father the first time he came to the prison of ice. He was only at the peak of the earth immortal realm back then. But soon, he reached the semi-god realm. The last time I saw him, he was at the peak of the semi-god realm, more powerful than me. Back then, I exclaimed that the younger generation will surpass us in time. I don't know what to say to you now." Over the past few years, Lu Renhuang's abilities had been improving, which had amazed the old man. He didn't know that Lu Renhuang's son was even stronger. He could even kill Yen Zhen. It made the old man feel like he was in a mess. Had the world changed, or were they too useless? "Sir, you flatter me," Lu Li said modestly. Then, he asked, "Sir, what is your name? Do you know where my father is?" The old man said with shame, "I will not tell you my real name. It is shameful. Now, my name is Heaven-Seeking Taoist. I don't know where your father is. He often roams the ice purgatory alone, constantly challenging the experts who are cultivating in the ice purgatory. In the beginning, he was always suppressed, but his defense is very strong and his speed is very fast, allowing him to successfully escape every time. Now, there are probably very few people in the ice purgatory who are his match." Well, Lu Li was surprised. He didn't know that Lu Renhuang was so tough. He had been challenging powerful warriors in the prison of ice. Those that could cultivate in the prison of ice must be at least at the semi-god realm. It was a miracle that Lu Renhuang could survive. But Lu Renhuang must have stimulated his potential in battles of life and death to improve so fast. When a person often experienced life and death battles, their potential would be stimulated, and they would suddenly have an epiphany. It was understandable that their strength would increase by leaps and bounds. "Thank you, sir." Luli clasped his fists and asked, "Sir, are you related to families in the 9 universes?" Luli was going to wipe out many families this time. Since the old man was old friends with Lu Renhuang, Luli had to respect the old man. The old man shook his head and said, "It doesn't matter. My clan was destroyed long ago. This old man is alone now. If I can't break through the last step, I'm prepared to die of old age in this ice prison." Luli was relieved. He cupped his fists and bid farewell to the old man. Then, he flew away in the wicked bead. The old man stood alone on the frozen lake for a long time, his eyes filled with confusion. Luli was so capable at such a young age. The old man began to doubt himself. Was it meaningful for him to cultivate like this? Luli flew on at the top of his speed. Since Lu Renhuang was challenging people everywhere, then his whereabouts must not be fixed. In that case, it would be pointless to ask someone. He might as well use the wicked bead to search around. And, you release some of your subsidiary bodies and help them search. Luli gave some orders to Yu and she began to release subsidiary bodies. After tens of thousands of them were released, Luli sent them away. Yu controlled the subsidiary bodies to fly to different directions. In just over 2 hours, Luli ran into another 2 warriors. They seemed to be a couple. When Luli flew over a huge snow mountain, the ice on the cliff suddenly cracked. Then, an old man and an old woman came out. "What? Old man, isn't this a relic?" The old woman was at the semi-god realm, but only at the initial stage. There were no wrinkles or age spots on her face. Instead, her cheeks were rosy. She must have been a beauty in her younger days. The old man's back was straight. He wore a white robe, which gave him an elegant and refined look. He must have been a handsome man in his younger days. His eyes glowed after a glance. He said, "Is this the legendary wicked bead? Is it Luli?" Luli stopped the wicked bead. He could not just fly away now that his name was called. He said, "I am Luli. And you are?" The old woman with white hair and a youthful face said in surprise, "Old man, is this the one you told me killed Yanzhen? Come out and meet us. Allow us to greet you." "Luli, don't be nervous," the white-robed old man said with a warm smile. "We are friends, not enemies. I am Feng Aoshue and this is my wife, Mei Ting. We are sworn enemies with the Yen family. You have avenged us by killing Yanzhen." Luli could sense their sincerity. He was not afraid that they would secretly attack him. He dashed out of the wicked bead. The purple armor appeared. Luli said with a smile, "You are too kind. I killed Yanzhen. There is an irreconcilable hatred between the Yen family and me. Either he dies or I die." Ha ha ha. The old man was sure that Yanzhen was dead when he saw the purple armor. He laughed heartily. Then, he bowed to Luli with the old woman and said sincerely, "Lu, please accept our bow. You have done us a great favor by killing Yanzhen. In the future, if there is anything you need us to do, please come here and let us know." Luli could not stop them. He had to accept it. He thought about it and said, "Later, I will think of a way to breach the divine imperial city and wipe out the Yen family. If you want revenge, let's do it together." Feng Aoshue and his wife looked at each other in astonishment. The old woman said with pleasant surprise, "My friend, are you sure you can breach the divine imperial city? That is a relic. Not even immortals can do it." Feng Aoshue nodded and said, "Yes. Back in the days, several immortals tried to breach the divine imperial city, but failed. Are you sure you can do it?" "I am not sure." Luli shook his head. "But where there is a will, there is a way. How can I know if I don't try? I won't lose anything by trying, right?" "Okay." Feng Aoshue thought about it and shouted, "Okay." My friend, you are so ambitious. How can we not follow you? As soon as you do it, we will go right away. The Yin family wiped out my wife's family. If you can wipe out the Yin family, we will follow you for the rest of our lives. Yes, yes, the old woman nodded in excitement. As long as you can wipe out the Yin family and avenge our family, our lives will be yours. Please don't say that. Luli did not mind. He had slaves at the peak of the semi-god realm. Given his current abilities, a group of warriors at the peak of the semi-god realm would be pointless. That being said, it was a good thing to have 2 more semi-god realm warriors to attack the Yin family. Luli made an agreement with the 2 and asked about Lu Renhuang. Their answers were the same as the old man's. Back in the days, Lu Renhuang challenged the 2. At first, he failed and fled. The second time he came, he defeated the 2 on his own. But the 2 did not know where Lu Renhuang was. He had been exploring in the prison of ice. He had been challenging enemies and never stopped. Chapter 1139. Bidding farewell to the 2, Luli continued his search for Lu Renhuang. Luli was getting agitated because of the constant encounters. He flew the wicked bead at full speed. If it were not for the fact that someone was deliberately intercepting him, Luli would have taken a detour. As he had expected, he alarmed many warriors along the way. There were many more in the prison of ice. 10 hours later, Luli ran into 4 warriors, but he managed to go around all of them. The wicked bead was so fast that average warriors could not catch up with it. What? Another 2 hours later, Luli suddenly sensed that there were many warriors in front of him. He also saw people fighting in midair from the distance. He slowed down the wicked bead and lowered his altitude. He flew over quietly, wanting to see if Lu Renhuang was there. In front of him was a valley. But the temperature here seemed to be very low because there was no snow. The mountains were all icebergs and the snow was frozen. It was not hard to imagine how low the temperature was. Some of the shock waves from the attacks landed on the icebergs but didn't cause the icebergs to collapse. Only a piece of ice was shaved off. It seemed that the inside of the icebergs was frozen. 3 warriors were fighting on the icebergs and 2 were attacking one. Luli was amused to check with psychic power. He knew the 2 warriors who were fighting. One was in a red robe and the other was in a green robe. They were quite coquettish. Who else could they be other than the deranged Taoist pair? When Luli was on his way back from the Central Imperial Universe, he was chased by the deranged Taoist pair and Mo Huanglin when he passed by the Prison of Gold. Later, he said that he was the apprentice of the Blood Emperor and threw out the token of the Blood Emperor to scare off the 3. Otherwise, he wouldn't even know how he could enter the prison of water. Back then, he had heard about the deranged Taoist pair. It was said that the 2 were brothers and both were perverted perverts who enjoyed torturing and killing young girls. Because they tortured and killed young ladies of the 4 major families of the Mage Imperial Universe, they were hunted down by the other 2 families. The 2 were the most vicious warriors in the Prison of Gold. Back then, Luli thought that if he was powerful enough, he would go out and kill the deranged Taoist pair right away. He didn't expect to run into them here. A glint of killing intent rose in Luli's eyes. He didn't take action right away. He used psychic power to check. He noticed that there were many people watching the battle. There were at least 8 or 9 old monsters hiding in plain sight. While Luli was checking on those warriors, many used psychic power to check as well. But it seemed that they had never seen the wicked bead before. Many stopped using psychic power after a quick glance. The deranged Taoist pair recognized the wicked bead. However, they were busy fighting an old man up there, so they did not notice what was going on down there. Luli observed quietly. Both the deranged Taoist pair were at the peak of the semi-god realm, and so was the one they were attacking. Both sides seemed to be evenly matched, and it was difficult to determine the victor. However, the deranged Taoist pair's methods were very ruthless. The brown-haired elder was suppressed and at a disadvantage. The deranged Taoist pair had a very evil bloodline divine skill. The two of them could release some blood-colored skeleton hands. The skeleton hands flickered with a dark blue light, and it looked like they were extremely poisonous. It wasn't just one skeletal hand, but a sky full of skeletal hands, attacking the brown-haired old man from all directions. The brown-haired old man didn't dare to touch it, so he kept dodging and counterattacking from time to time, so he was at a disadvantage. Why don't we persuade old Freak Tang to give up? At this rate, sooner or later, he would die in the hands of the deranged Taoist pair. It's just a grandniece who was harmed by the two. She is not his biological granddaughter. You make it sound so easy. She is not your grandniece. Tang does not have many disciples to begin with. This grandniece of his is talented and beautiful. She was going to marry a young master of the Jun family. Now, she has been harmed by the two. It is no wonder that Tang is angry. What can he do even if he is angry? The deranged Taoist pair have been working together for hundreds of years. They can coordinate with each other, and their means are vicious. One mistake and you will be killed by them. Tang's body movement is good. I think it is the catkin in the wind profound meaning. Has he integrated another profound meaning? Luli could clearly hear the sounds of discussion coming from the other side. Clearly, those people were bored out of their minds. They were attracted by the fight and came over to watch. None of them wanted to help. Maybe they were afraid of the reputation of the deranged Taoist pair, or maybe they were not that close to Tang. I, Tang, will be grateful to anyone who can help me kill the deranged Taoist pair. Hermit, 5 sovereigns, how about you lend me a hand? Old Freak Tang suddenly shouted. The insane Taoist pair's viper-like cold eyes swept over them. The green-robed old Taoist said in a cold voice, Gentlemen, it's better if you don't stir up trouble. You should know the temperaments of us brothers. If you offend us, we will not let go of any of the girls in your family. The green-robed Taoist's words sent chills down people's spines. They did not care about family affairs, but they would be so ashamed that they would bang their heads against the wall and die if the girls in their families were raped because of them. The deranged Taoist pair once did something like this. An old warrior offended them. That warrior was so fast that the two could not catch up with him. In the end, the warrior went to the deranged Taoist pair's family and raped over 100 girls. If the warriors were confident that they could kill the deranged Taoist pair, they would not hesitate. What was more important was that the deranged Taoist pair were fast and they had a unique way of escaping. If they could not kill the deranged Taoist pair and brought endless troubles to their families, then the loss would outweigh the gain. Guys! Old Freak Tang shouted angrily again. Whoever can help me kill these 2 old freaks, I'll give him all my treasures and secret skills. The old monsters below were somewhat tempted, but what the red-robed old monster said next made them all shut up. The red-robed man stared at them like a viper and said, Treasures are good, but you must be alive to take them. Also, what if you can kill us? Aren't you afraid that the deaf Taoist will hunt you down? The deaf Taoist? The 3 words seemed to have some kind of magic. Nobody dared to show any killing intent anymore. They stayed on the ground and enjoyed the show. 2 of them looked at old Freak Tang apologetically. It was obvious that they wouldn't help him. Ha ha! Right at that moment they heard a burst of laughter. Then, the voice continued, Tang, how about I help you kill the deranged Taoist pair? I don't want your treasures. You just have to do one thing for me. Swish, 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 many turned to the wicked bead, because it was Luli who spoke. Luli could not sit still any longer. He was ready to take action. The deranged Taoist pair were vicious and evil. Everyone wanted to kill them, not to mention that the 2 hunted him down years ago. The wicked bead did not have any power. It floated at the foot of the mountain like a stone. Nobody thought it was a powerful artifact. From inside the bead came a young voice. How could he be so arrogant? Everyone was mocking him, asking to kill the deranged Taoist pair. They wondered which family this foppish young man was from. What an arrogant young man! Tang did not take it seriously. He answered casually, "Don't say one thing. If you can help me get revenge, I can be your slave for the rest of my life." This bead? The deranged Taoist pair found the wicked bead familiar. The red-robed man suddenly yelled, "Isn't this the bead that the Blood Emperor's apprentice rode on? Punk, you are the apprentice of the Blood Emperor?" Buzzing. Chapter 1140. Apprentice of the Blood Emperor, apprentice of Emperor Heng, Luli? Many were confused. They had heard of the Blood Emperor. Almost all the warriors cultivating in the purgatory of primordial chaos had heard of the Blood Emperor. He was one of the most powerful warriors. He was cruel and merciless. Many warriors had died in his hands. Apprentice of Emperor Heng? Which Emperor Heng? If it was the Emperor Heng that came back from the divinity, then something was not right. Emperor Heng had been dead for hundreds of thousands of years. Luli? The name was unfamiliar, but the two old monsters had vaguely heard it before, but they couldn't recall it for a moment. They did not pay much attention to the 9 universes. It was understandable that they had not heard of it. Luli? The Luli that killed Yanzhen? One of the warriors suddenly remembered something and shouted. The other warriors looked at Luli's armor and the relic weapon in his hand. They were all taken aback. Relic? Nothing was more convincing than the relic armor and the relic weapon Luli was holding. They had heard to some extent that Yanzhen was killed. Some thought it was just a rumor. After all, how could Yanzhen be killed when he had a relic weapon and a relic weapon? The fact that Luli was wearing a relic armor and a relic weapon proved everything. Yanzhen was killed, by this young man, by Luli. What? The deranged Taoist pair's eyes grew colder. They stopped involuntarily. They were solemn. Of course, the deranged Taoist pair were surprised as well. Luli was so young, and he seemed to be only at the initial stage of the semi-god realm. How could he have killed Yanzhen? Buzzing. The wicked bead glowed as the immortal's body came out. Luli didn't even bother to kill them. He pointed to the deranged Taoist pair and said, "Kill them." What? The warriors were shocked. The violent energy coming from the immortal's body was too strong. The immortal's body looked strange. A headless body with wings and a golden body. It was quite intimidating. Swish, the god corpse flapped its wings and turned into a streak of light as it shot forward. Its speed frightened the group of old monsters. The red-robed warrior of the deranged Taoist pair yelled at once, "Brother, run!" Swish. The golden mark on the red-robed old man's neck lit up, and skeletal hands swarmed out, grabbing toward the god's corpse. At the same time, the red-robed old freak formed a seal with both of his hands and shot out a series of small earthy yellow seals toward the god's corpse. Although the small seals were small and did not seem to possess much power, they were the advanced profoundness of the earth element. A single small seal was comparable to a mountain range and possessed terrifying power. Bang, 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 bang! The skeletal hands grabbed onto the god corpses, but they exploded one by one, not causing any damage to the god corpses at all. Even the skeleton's hands were poisonous. Unfortunately, the god corpse's physical body was extremely strong, and this little bit of poison could not enter his body. Bang, bang, bang! The small seal flew over and violently smashed into the sacred corpse. Every time the sacred corpse was hit, its body would tremble slightly, and its speed would be slightly affected. Amazing! The group of old monsters sighed with emotion. The small seal contained a violent power, but it couldn't even push back the god's corpse? Just how terrifying was the immortal corpse's defense? Without a soul, the immortal corpse is still too weak. Luli, on the other hand, was not satisfied. The immortal corpse did not know how to be flexible. If the sacred corpse were alive, he would have been able to dodge the attacks easily given his speed. By then, he would have killed one person. Thank you. At first, Tang did not think much of Lu Li. However, when the immortal corpse showed up, he was overjoyed. He began to fight back at the deranged Taoist pair. He had learned a powerful, profound meaning of water. He waved his hand. Wind and rain whooshed over. The wind and rain formed dragons of water that entangled the deranged Taoist pair, preventing them from running away. Brother Two, hang in there. I will go and kill this kid. The red-robed old man was enraged that he could not leave at the moment. He glared at Lu Li gloomily. He wanted to kill Lu Li so that no one could control the immortal corpse. He still could not believe it. How could Lu Li kill Yanjun? The relic armor Lu Li was wearing was fake, right? After all, how could a young man at the initial stage of the semi-god realm kill the leader of the 9 universes? Swish, the red-robed old man's legs trembled. Suddenly, he let out a shrill noise. The next second, he appeared in front of Lu Li and reached his hand toward Lu Li's chest. The red-robed old man's hand used to be skinny and bony. However, at this moment, the red-robed old man's hand turned into a skeleton with a dark glare. The red-robed old man's hand was like a sharp saber, reaching toward Lu Li's chest. Lu Li grinned. He did not step back or dodge. He was not fast enough, and it was difficult for him to dodge. He just let the hand scratch on his relic armor. Many people stared at Lu Li's armor. If it were not a relic armor, then even a quasi-relic could be crushed. The deranged Taoist pair were vicious. The skeleton claw was the move that made them famous. Buzzing, the purple relic armor glowed in a purple light. The claw was bounced off. The fierce claw did not inflict any damage to the relic armor. Not even a mark was left. You are done. Now it is my turn. Lu Li grinned. To the red-robed old man, Lu Li's smiling eyes were no different from that of a demon. The red-robed old man sensed fatal danger. He stepped back in terror. You want to run? It is too late. Lu Li swung his saber and made a gentle move. When he used the Slayer's move, the killing intent surged out uncontrollably. His eyes glowed in red. He had turned from a harmless young man into a killer. Swish, as soon as the move was used, the wind and clouds were stirred up. Xian Qi in heaven and earth were suppressed. The red-robed old man could not move one bit. The blood-red ray of sword light flew out. The red-robed old man saw a world of blood. Then, he felt a sharp pain. The last thing he could think of was that a surge of horrifying energy exploded in his body, and he was blasted into a mist of blood. Boom! Blood mist filled the sky, and a rain of blood floated in midair, sprinkling on the faces of several old monsters. It was dead silent. Even the sound of a pin drop could be heard. Boss! A furious shout came out. The green-robed old man's miserable cry alarmed the warriors who were watching. They looked at each other, only to see fear in each other's eyes. The deranged Taoist pair had been dominating the purgatory of primordial chaos for 700 to 800 years. Nobody could kill them. Many who offended them were killed by them. Of course, the deranged Taoist pair never took the initiative to provoke the powerful warriors in the purgatory of primordial chaos. They were sensible and had a powerful backer. That was why they could enjoy their freedom until today. However, one of the deranged Taoist pair died here today. It seemed that the other one would not survive either. More importantly, the deranged Taoist pair died in the hands of a young man in one move. The warriors felt it was surreal, as if they were in a dream. Lu Li, you are doomed. The green-robed old man crushed a jade talisman in his hand. His face twisted, he shouted, "How dare you kill my boss? I will wipe out your entire family. I have informed the deaf Taoist. Your entire family will be killed." The deaf Taoist? Chapter 1141. Informed the deaf Taoist? Lu Li did not show much of a reaction, but the others were taken aback. Tang, in particular, pulled a long face. Powerful warriors could live a long life. Usually, after reaching the noble lord realm, it was normal for a warrior to live for 1 or 2,000 years. 1 or 2,000 years was enough for many things to happen. For example, a family could be wiped out and the one who did it was so powerful that the family could not fight back. The family could only swallow the pain and go to the purgatory of primordial chaos to cultivate, hoping that one day they could seek revenge. Some warriors, like the deranged Taoist pair, fled to the purgatory of primordial chaos because they had offended super-powerful warriors in their own universes. There were more warriors who had lived a long life and enjoyed all the glory and splendor. They had seen through the mundane world and decided to calm down to take the last step. Therefore, there were many warriors in the purgatory of primordial chaos. Conflicts were inevitable. Maybe some warriors wanted to make breakthroughs in battles. Because of the frequent battles, the warriors had a good understanding of each other's abilities. They were afraid of the few most powerful warriors in the purgatory of primordial chaos. The deaf Taoist was one of them. Someone created a ranking for the warriors in the purgatory of primordial chaos. Only the 10 most powerful warriors were named Purgatory's top 10. Although some people didn't agree with this list, there was no doubt that these 10 people were very powerful. The deaf Taoist ranked number 4 among the Purgatory's top 10, which was proof that the deaf Taoist was powerful. Lu Li's so-called master, the Blood Emperor, was on the list as well. He was ranked number 3, ahead of the deaf Taoist. That was why the deranged Taoist pair were scared off by the Blood Emperor. The deranged Taoist pair and the deaf Taoist were not on good terms. But the deaf Taoist made it clear that he owed the deranged Taoist pair a favor. Though no one knew what the deranged Taoist pair had done, the deaf Taoist would lend them a hand when necessary. Now that the deranged Taoist pair had made use of this favor, many people were taken aback. Some even wanted to leave right away in case the deaf Taoist would kill them by mistake. Tang was the most stressed out. Swish, the immortal's body did not care. He dashed toward the green-robed warrior in a blur. However, the green-robed warrior was fast. He kept releasing skeleton hands and seals to stop the immortal's body from getting closer. Kill! Tang made up his mind. After all, Lu Li had killed one of them. Tang did not mind too much. He would deal with the other one first. Ha! Old freak, Tang shouted, and heavy rain poured down from the sky. The curtain of rain was like smoke, and water dragons condensed in the air. They rushed over from all directions, surrounding the green-robed old freak. Old freak Tang's water profundity was the most annoying. It could slow down the enemy's speed, making him like a clingy fly. The green-robed warrior was entangled and the immortal's body was approaching. The green-robed warrior bellowed, "Tang, leave now. When the deaf Taoist is here, I will let bygones be bygones. Otherwise, you will die as well." The green-robed warrior tried to sow discord. He hated Lu Li the most at the moment. It did not matter if Tang was killed or not. His priority was to stay alive. Old freak Tang had lived for so many years. If he was so easily alienated, then he would have lived his life like a dog. His face didn't change as he continued to release his Upanishad attack. Hiss, with Tang's help, the resistance the immortal's body faced was reduced. Finally, the immortal's body was close to the green-robed warrior. He punched at the green-robed warrior. The noise caused by the high speed was ear-piercing. Buzzing. The green-robed warrior took out a flag. He waved it and the flag swirled up, surrounding the immortal's body and Tang. Without hesitation, the immortal's body punched. The green flag was torn apart. However, at that moment, the green-robed warrior's body glowed in a blood-red light. He retreated for several miles. Lu Li watched leisurely. He did not intend to take any action. He wanted to see what these warriors were capable of and learn a thing or two from them. The immortal's body was fast. the green-robed warrior would not be able to run away even if he had some tricks up his sleeve. The immortal's body chased after the green-robed warrior. Tang released dragons of water to stop the green-robed warrior from running away. The green-robed warrior released more skeleton hands and seals to stop the immortal's body from approaching. Clearly, the green-robed warrior was stalling for time, waiting for the deaf Taoist to come. Some of the onlookers secretly moved to the sides to watch from a distance. They did not want to be implicated. Some of the bolder ones stayed to watch. They looked at Lu Li with curiosity and confusion. Clearly, the second brother of the deranged Taoist pair was stalling for time, waiting for the deaf Taoist to come. Why was Lu Li not moving? Was he not afraid of the deaf Taoist at all? That being said, given what Lu Li had just done and the fact that he was wearing relic armor and weapon and had the immortal's body, they could understand. If Lu Li could kill Yanzhen, why would he be afraid of the deaf Taoist? Yanzhen was known as the most powerful warrior in the 9 universes. Bang in the air, the immortal's body smashed a quasi-relic shield that the green-robed warrior threw out. Taking the chance, the green-robed warrior released some skeleton hands and then used skills to retreat. He has a lot of treasures. Lu Li followed up slowly. Still, he showed no signs of taking actions. He wanted to see how many treasures the green-robed warrior had to destroy the immortal's body. The green-robed warrior was getting impatient. He would look into the distance every now and then. He was not sure that the deaf Taoist was in the prison of ice. If the deaf Taoist was not, it would be too late for Lu Li to come and save him. Time moved on. After the time for one incense stick to burn, the immortal's body had closed the distance again. This time, the green-robed warrior had no other moves. He reached out a skeleton hand to grab the immortal's body. At the same time he shouted, "Lu Li, just you wait. The deaf Taoist will kill your entire family." Bang! The immortal's body smashed at the green-robed warrior's arm. Then, his body exploded into a mist of blood. He was dead. Stop! At the same time, a hoarse voice came from the sky. The old monsters who were watching from below immediately flew away in all directions, their faces filled with fear. Buzzing, the air trembled. Then, a black halo appeared. An old Taoist wearing a gray robe and holding a horsetail whisk walked out from the halo. The deaf Taoist. Tang took a look at the deaf Taoist's ears. Both of the ears were cut off. Tang was no longer surprised. He was sure of the identity of this person. Tang flew behind Lu Li and whispered, "Lu, this is the deaf Taoist, the number 4 of the Purgatory's top 10. He is good. You be careful." Lu Li nodded, still wearing a smile. He looked at the deaf Taoist but said nothing. Lu Li did not know about the entanglement between the deaf Taoist and the deranged Taoist pair. However, since the 3 were related and the deaf Taoist was protecting the 2, Lu Li believed that the deaf Taoist and the deranged Taoist were birds of the same feather. The deaf Taoist came out from the black halo. He threw a glance to the immortal's body, and then to the green-robed warrior, who had exploded into a mist of blood. In the end, he turned to Lu Li and said, "I know that those 2 are not good people. But I owe them a favor. Therefore, I cannot stand by and do nothing when they are killed. Young man, I am going to kill you. Do you have any last words? Don't worry. I have my principles. I will not implicate your family." Ha ha ha. Chapter 1142. The deaf Taoist did not respond to Lu Li's words, as if he really was deaf. Not only was the deaf Taoist not angry, but he also said nothing. After a moment, seeing that Lu Li was not leaving, the deaf Taoist took out a pipa. The deaf Taoist plucked on the pipa and said, "Since you have nothing to say, then I will send you on your way." Devil's pipa. Tang was taken aback. He yelled, "My friend, run." Once the deaf Taoist uses the devil's pipa, no one but a powerful soul warrior can stand it. Tang flew away quickly. Seeing that Luli was still there, Tang stomped on the ground and came back. Luli waved his hand, not worried. He just told Tang to stay away. The warriors lurking nearby were taken aback. They stepped back quickly. They had never experienced the power of the Devil's Pipa, but they had heard about it many times. The deaf Taoist did not seem to want to implicate others. After the warriors left, he plucked on the Devil's Pipa. Ding! A sound that was not too loud came out. The space in front of the pipa began to ripple. It was as if a stone was thrown into a peaceful lake. Luli squinted. He checked himself. He felt a feeble surge of soul energy coming from the ripples and entering his soul, ready to invade his soul pond at any time. Soul attack. The last thing Luli was afraid of was soul attack. Back in the days, Emperor Z wanted to take over his soul pond, control his soul, and possess his body. In the end, he was defeated by the Silver Dragon Mark. Emperor Z said that the Silver Dragon Mark was an enchanted soul above the 7th rank. Luli did not know what an enchanted soul was, but Emperor Z said it was a treasure that could be owned by a superfamily in the divinity. If so, how could regular soul attack hurt him? Ding dong, the pipa went on. The tone was gentle and pleasant. It seemed to have a hypnotic effect that could make people fall asleep. After Luli listened to it for a while, he felt so comfortable that he actually closed his eyes. The silver dragon mark in his soul glowed, which startled him. He realized that the energy in his soul was invading his soul quietly. Impressive! Luli's eyes were still closed, but he was exclaiming to himself. The deaf Taoist's soul attack was cunning and soundless. Unknowingly, the enemy would fall for it. If Luli had really fallen asleep, he wouldn't even know how he died. The fourth of the Purgatory 10 Elders was indeed extraordinary. Luli nodded to himself. The deaf Taoist deserved his reputation for his soul attack. Luli kept his eyes closed and let the deaf Taoist attack him. Luli wanted to see how strong the silver dragon was. Ding 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 dong dong, all of a sudden, the sound of the pipa became hurried and violent. Luli felt the soul attack in his mind became faster. Countless streams of soul power swarmed into his soul space and swarmed toward his soul pond. In the distance, Tang and the others were checking with psychic power. When they saw Luli standing still in midair, their hearts were in their throats. Would Luli fall for it so easily? If Luli was killed by the deaf Taoist, then the 2 relics, no, the 3 relics would fall into the deaf Taoist's hands. Once the deaf Taoist had the 3 relics, his abilities would be beyond imagination. The entire purgatory of primordial chaos and the 9 universes would be changed. Therefore, even though the several onlookers knew it was dangerous to stay here and they could be killed if they angered the deaf Taoist, they could not help but continue to check. Bang bang bang, the sound of the pipa was getting faster and faster. Even the warriors several miles away could not stand it any longer. But Luli was still standing in midair peacefully. The deaf Taoist was surprised. He threw Luli a few glances. Then, while playing the pipa, he moved closer to Luli, trying to kill him when he was close enough. Tang's mind was filled with the sound of the pipa. However, he could tell that the deaf Taoist was about to kill Luli. Tang could not help but shout, "Lu, watch out, boom!" With that said, he felt as if he had been struck by a bolt from the blue. His soul was wounded. He rolled around on the ground in pain, screaming in pain. Luli saw everything. He nodded to himself. This Tang was a nice guy. Luli's help to kill the deranged Taoist pair was not in vain. Whoosh, the deaf Taoist sped up. In an instant, he was right in front of Luli. He swung the pipa and smashed at Luli's head. Luli grinned. He used the relic weapon in his hand. The pipa was a piece of treasure, but Luli was holding a relic weapon in his hand. Bang! With a muffled sound, sparks came out from the pipa. Luli was smashed down by the strong force and fell into the mountains below. His legs landed on a boulder on the mountain peak. Due to the force of the fall, the boulder began to crack. Luli put on a smile. Deaf Taoist, your soul attack is not good enough. Do you have other means? If not, you can't kill me. Luli had fought against many powerful warriors. Previously, he relied on the wicked bead and the immortal's body. Later on, he relied on the Slayer's move. Therefore, he knew very little about the skills of powerful warriors. This time, Luli planned to let the deaf Taoist demonstrate his skills, so that Luli could broaden his horizons. If you want to die, I will grant your wish, the deaf Taoist said. He was not really deaf. It was just that he did not like to talk to people. That was why he had a strange personality. He suddenly plucked the string of the pipa with one hand, and this time, the string actually broke. He casually threw the string down, and the string actually expanded with the wind, turning into a giant python in midair. Hiss, hiss, the deaf Taoist broke the strings one by one and threw them all down. The strings whooshed down like pythons. The deaf Taoist's pipa without strings glowed. It turned into a phantom of a beast that dashed toward Luli. Boom, boom, boom. The pythons and the phantom of the beast exploded. Luli was smashed away, but he was fine. The relic armor was strong. Roar, roar, the deaf Taoist cried into the sky. His robe was torn into pieces. Then, his body expanded and he grew to more than 100 feet. His body was covered with muscles. His face became a ferocious beast. There was a tail behind his butt and his chest was covered with black hair. Well, he has turned into a beast? Luli was dumbfounded. He was not frightened, but he was stunned by such a strange change. How did a perfectly fine person turn into a half-beast man? Did the deaf Taoist learn some skills? Or was he a special race to begin with? The difference between before and after was just too great. Roar, roar. Chapter 1143. Himself. Luli was more confident now. The deaf Taoist must be of a special race or a beast. But he had hidden it well, which was why the outside world did not know about him. The 9 universes belonged to humans. Once, over half of the beasts and other special races were slaughtered by humans and driven to the Palea-beast realm. Back in the days, the beasts and humans held a deep grudge. If the deaf Taoist's identity was exposed, he would not be able to survive in the purgatory of primordial chaos. Luli did not discriminate against beasts and Palea-beasts. That being said, the deaf Taoist wanted to kill him. Why would he show mercy? Luli ordered the immortal's body, kill this gorilla. The word gorilla made the deaf Taoist so angry that he spat out blood. In the distance, the immortal's body made a move. He dashed over like an arrow and punched at the deaf Taoist's head. Roar! The deaf Taoist swung his huge fist and punched at the immortal's body. His fist was surrounded by a dark air. Everywhere his fist passed by, the space would tremble, and the wind would howl. Boom! The 2 fists, one big and one small, bumped into each other. The immortal's body was smashed away. The deaf Taoist was knocked back as well. The skin on his arm was cracked, and blood was spilling out. It was a horrifying sight. Well, Luli was taken aback. The deaf Taoist could not believe what he had seen as well. As far as Luli could tell, the immortal's body's attack was powerful. Not even warriors at the peak of the semi-god realm could survive one punch from the immortal's body. However, the deaf Taoist only had a broken arm. The deaf Taoist was even more shocked. He seemed to have absolute confidence in his defense. How could he be hurt by the immortal's body in one punch? The immortal's body did not react at all. Whoosh! The immortal's body kept coming. He was so fast that the deaf Taoist finally came to his senses. This time, he did not use his fist. The Deaf Taoist's hand glowed as a yellowish stone column appeared. The stone column was 100 feet long and had a diameter of 1 meter. It looked like a pillar that could prop up the sky. A black iron chain was wrapped around the column. Instead of a yellowish glow, the column was surrounded by a dark air, giving it a spooky look. The Deaf Taoist was over 100 feet tall after the transformation. He held the stone column in his hand and swung it in the air. It was a shocking scene. Bang! The stone column and the immortal's body's fist collided. What surprised Luli was that the immortal's body was smashed away again, but the stone column did not break. Impossible! The god corpse could even shatter quasi-god artifacts and ancestral artifacts with a single punch. The immortal's corpse punched the stone pillar, but nothing happened to it. Could it be that the stone pillar was a divine artifact? Luli used psychic power to check but did not sense any divine might. Relic artifacts did have divine might. What was more, all relics had spirit. Luli did not sense any in this stone column. Xiao! The immortal's body kept on coming. However, before he could get close, he was smashed away by the Deaf Taoist. The immortal's body did not have a soul. His method of attack was simple, which was to dash around and punch. The Deaf Taoist could predict the immortal's body's trajectory and knock him away. Bang, 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 every time the immortal's body came, the Deaf Taoist would smash the immortal's body away with the stone column. After several attacks, the Deaf Taoist turned away from the immortal's body and turned to Luli. What? Luli and the Deaf Taoist looked into each other's eyes. Suddenly, Luli remembered the dragon demon's eyes. Sensing the Deaf Taoist's energy, Luli's pupils contracted as he yelled, "You are not a Palea beast or a special race. You are a beast from the region of doom." Palea beasts could not have such strong defense. The stone column was not a relic, but it was strong nonetheless. Also, the Deaf Taoist's energy was similar to that of the dragon demon, which was why Luli said so. "Ha ha, punk, you know a lot. But, even with a relic armor, you will still die today." The Deaf Taoist sneered. This time, his voice was not loud. Luli heard it directly. The Deaf Taoist crossed the sky. His strong body was like a moving hill. He swung the stone column and smashed it at Luli. It was like a man trying to kill a fly. Boom, 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 everywhere the stone column was at, space trembled. Luli tried to dodge to the sides. However, due to the instability of the space, his speed was slowed down. He was like a small boat in the raging sea, struggling to move. Boom! The stone column smashed down and Luli was smashed into the ground. A huge pit appeared on the ground. Poof! Luli spat out some blood. His eyes were filled with shock because he was injured by the powerful force. The relic armor could not stand the force of the stone column. His physical body was strong, and yet, he was injured so easily? Whoosh! The stone column was lifted up and smashed down again. Luli felt the sky darkened. The stone column came down again. Luli used psychic power to check the inside of the relic armor. Poof! This time, he was injured again. Blood spilled out from his mouth. But he had a clear look. As the stone column smashed down, a strand of dark air seeped into his body through the relic armor, which was why he was injured. Bang! In the sky, the immortal's body flew over. The Deaf Taoist could no longer attack Luli. He had to smash the immortal's body away. Go! Naturally, Luli would not resign himself to fate and allow the Deaf Taoist to attack. Luli was filled with killing intent. His eyes glowed red. He had used the Slayer's move. Every time the Slayer's move was used, it would be intimidating. Winds and clouds would change. Xian-Qi and heaven and earth would swarm in from all sides. At once, the Deaf Taoist was suppressed. Swish, a ray of blood-red sword light appeared and dashed toward the Deaf Taoist. The Deaf Taoist felt his vision turned red. He saw a world of blood. Boom! The blood-red ray of sword light landed on the deaf Taoist's huge body. He was smashed away. The black hair on his chest fell off. Blood was dripping down. There was a crack that was neither deep nor shallow. How, the deaf Taoist's huge eyes were filled with astonishment. He stared at his chest and murmured in disbelief, "How is this possible? How is this possible? Punk, you are only at the initial stage of the semi-god realm. How can you have such a powerful move? Not even a skill from the divinity can be so destructive." Whoosh! Luli flew out from the pit. He was amazed by the deaf Taoist's defense as well. That being said, since the Slayer's move could injure the deaf Taoist, and a serious one at that, Luli would win if the fight went on. Chapter 1144. If the deaf Taoist were just a warrior from the purgatory of primordial chaos, Luli would rather kill him than kill him. After all, he did not hate the deaf Taoist too much. However, the deaf Taoist was a beast from the region of doom, which was a different story. If the deaf Taoist were a beast without intelligence like the dragon demon, Luli would not mind. It just so happened that the deaf Taoist could transform into a human being. He had been lurking in the purgatory of primordial chaos for hundreds of years. Who could tell what he was up to? Luli did not know much about the region of doom. He only knew that it was a place in the divinity where evil and sinister beasts resided. If Luli was not capable enough, he would let it go. But now that he had the chance to kill the deaf Taoist, he would not let it go. Swish! Luli wielded the black relic weapon and released the Slayer's move again. The deaf Taoist reacted quickly. He swung the stone column and smashed at Luli. However, as soon as the deaf Taoist waved the stone column, the world in front of him was occupied by blood. Xian Qi in heaven and earth suppressed him. He could not move. Bang! The blood-red ray of sword light landed on the deaf Taoist's chest and smashed him away. The wound on his chest was deeper. Blood gushed out and splashed into the sky. Roar! The deaf Taoist bellowed into the sky. With a black glow around him, he ran away as fast as he could. He was not slower than the immortal's body. Boom! The deaf Taoist flew away for hundreds of miles. There was a warrior that was watching. The deaf Taoist swung the stone column and smashed that warrior into a pulp. Run! The warriors that were watching did not dare to stay any longer. They flew up and fled into the distance in fear. The deaf Taoist was too strong. He was enraged. If they dared to stay any longer, they would all be killed. You want to run? Luli sneered. He went into the wicked bead and put away the immortal's body. The wicked bead glowed and dashed away in a blur. The wicked bead was several times faster than the deaf Taoist. How is this possible? The deaf Taoist looked back and saw the wicked bead coming at him at a horrifying speed. Once again, the deaf Taoist was shocked. Luli had surprised the deaf Taoist time and time again. A young human being had overturned the deaf Taoist's understanding of the 9 universes for hundreds of years. Hoi! When the wicked bead caught up, Luli swung the stone column and smashed at the wicked bead. He smashed at the wicked bead with all his strength. However, the wicked bead only gave out a cyan glare. Surprisingly, the wicked bead didn't step back for even one bit. Transcendent grade god artifact? There was a glint of greed in the deaf Taoist's eyes. But he did not stop. With a dark glow, he flew into the distance. Xiao! The wicked bead chased after the deaf Taoist. It went around the deaf Taoist and stopped in front of him. Luli came out and hacked at the deaf Taoist. Hiss! The wind and clouds were trembling, and the sky changed color. The deaf Taoist, who was flying away, was stopped. Then, the blood-red ray of sword light landed on him. The deaf Taoist was smashed away and his chest was a bloody mess. Roar, roar, the deaf Taoist bellowed into the sky. His voice spread to an area with a radius of thousands of miles. His ferocious chi and energy made the fleeing warriors tremble. The deaf Taoist yelled. His body glowed in a dark light. Once again, he grew dozens of feet taller and his energy became more horrifying. Roar, roar, this time, the deaf Taoist did not run away. The iron chain on the stone column glowed in a dark light. The chain went into the stone column and wandered around, making the dark glow of the stone column even brighter. Is he losing his mind? Lu Li sneered. This time, without any hesitation, he hacked at the deaf Taoist with the relic weapon. He would like to see how many more moves the deaf Taoist could take. Boom! Once again, the deaf Taoist was smashed away. This time, he did not run away. He bellowed and dashed toward Lu Li. While he was in the air, he smashed the stone column at Lu Li. Boom, 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 space trembled. Before the stone column was smashed down, a dark shadow came out and whooshed toward Lu Li. What is that? Lu Li saw a huge black flood dragon. He dashed into the wicked bead at once. Boom! The black flood dragon smashed into the wicked bead which was glaring. Lu Li was taken aback by what he sensed. This was a powerful strike. If he were to take it head-on, he would be injured again. Buzzing. Lu Li let out the immortal's body and the stone golems as well. The stone golems could not do much, but they could distract the deaf Taoist's sight. Whoosh, 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 the immortal's body and the stone golems dashed toward the deaf Taoist. The latter bellowed into the sky and waved the stone column, smashing away the immortal's body and smashing the stone golems. That world-destroying ferocious might, that ruthless aura, that majestic scene, it shook one's heart, sucked one's soul. Buzzing, Lu Li dashed out and swung the relic weapon to release the Slayer's move. The deaf Taoist was smashed away again and again. His injuries were getting worse, and he was slowing down. Punk, stop. Let's talk. Once again, the deaf Taoist was smashed away. The wound on his chest was too horrible to look at. White bones could be seen. Some of them were broken, exposing his internal organs. Lu Li had to admit that the deaf Taoist's body was ridiculously strong, and his attacks were still so violent. There is nothing to talk about. Lu Li replied coldly. If you were a human, I could spare your life. But you are a creature from the region of doom. I will kill you today. Boom. After smashing away the immortal's body, the deaf Taoist glared at Lu Li and said, "It is true that I am a creature, but I do not mean to harm the human race. I was called here by the deranged Taoist pair by accident. I almost died in the region of doom. I came to the purgatory of primordial chaos to recover and then go back to the region of doom. If it were not for the fact that I was exhausted in that fight, how could you have hurt me today? Let me give you a piece of advice. Stop now. We will mind our own business. If you push me too hard, then let's fight to the bitter end." I see. Lu Li understood now. No wonder the deranged Taoist pair and the deaf Taoist did not seem to be on good terms. The deaf Taoist owed them a favor. So, this was the reason. That being said, Lu Li remained calm. He said coldly, "Fight to the bitter end? If you have the ability, then go ahead and try. I am not belittling you. But you are not strong enough to crack my wicked bead." The deaf Taoist looked at the wicked bead in Lu Li's hand, frustrated. Looking up at Lu Li, the deaf Taoist said, "Then what can I do for you to let me go? Do you want me to be your slave for 100 years? If the deaf Taoist did not mention it, Lu Li would not have such an idea. But now that the deaf Taoist mentioned it, Lu Li was intrigued. The deaf Taoist was horrifying. Also, he said that he had not recovered to his prime. If Lu Li could tame the deaf Taoist would be a great help in the divinity, let alone the 9 universes and the Yin family. Chapter 1145. 500 years? The deaf Taoist was hesitating. For him, 100 years and 500 years were not that different. Because he was a magical beast of the infernal domain, his lifespan was far too long. A moment later, the deaf Taoist turned to the immortal's body and said impatiently, "Tell your puppets to stop." Luli stopped the immortal's body and the rest of the stone golems. The deaf Taoist thought for a while and said, "You must take an almighty oath. Also, you have to promise me something." Luli was intrigued. "Still," he said with determination, "tell me what it is. If I cannot do it, don't mention it." The deaf Taoist said, "If you cannot go to the divinity, you must set me free in 100 years. If you can go to the divinity, you must send me back to the region of doom." Region of doom? Luli should be able to ascend to the divinity. Even if he could not integrate the map of fundamental principle, he still had the Slayer's move. Luli asked, "Is it difficult to go to the region of doom from the divinity? If it is too difficult, I will not go." "Not really." The deaf Taoist explained, "Many people in the divinity go to the region of doom to cultivate. It seems that many major cities can be teleported to the region of doom for 100,000 divine sources." 100,000 divine sources? Luli was relieved. The Yen family seemed to have spent a lot of divine sources to invite warriors of the 9 universes. Theoretically speaking, it should not be difficult for him to get some divine sources in the divinity. Luli nodded. "No problem. When I go to the divinity, I will find a way to send you back to the region of doom. Of course, there is a condition. You must serve me for 500 years. Deal." The deaf Taoist agreed readily. Then, he asked Luli to take an almighty oath. Luli followed the deaf Taoist's instructions and did so. Buzzing, between the deaf Taoist's eyebrows came out a dark glow. He said, "Do not resist. I will establish a master-slave contract." Luli was experienced in this. He once tamed the dragon demon. He was not nervous at all. The dark glow between the deaf Taoist's eyebrows was growing brighter. Soon, it shot out toward Luli's eyebrows. Done. Luli was delighted. He had gained a capable warrior. The deaf Taoist would not be weak even if he went to the divinity when he recovered. Wait! The black glare entered Luli's soul and began to spread wildly. Clearly, the dark energy was trying to occupy Luli's soul. The deaf Taoist was taking advantage of the contract to control Luli's soul. The silver dragon mark glowed. A silver dragon wandered around in Luli's soul. The dark energy was devoured by the silver dragon. Luli heard a miserable cry. "This is an enchanted soul. Brat, I was wrong. Hurry up and stop the demon soul. Otherwise, if my soul is devoured, I won't be able to conclude the contract." "Kid, no, Lord, I really know my mistake this time." "I won't dare to act recklessly again. Please let me go." "Humph!" Luli snorted. He was filled with anger. The deaf Taoist was so insidious. If it were not for the fact that Luli had the silver dragon to protect him, his soul would have perished by now. "Sir, I was wrong, I was really wrong. Hurry up and stop the silver dragon. Otherwise, I won't be able to serve you in the future. Milord, I know a lot about the God world and the devil realm. I also know that there is a place in the devil domain where a great treasure is hidden. It was left behind by a supreme from the God world. Milord, please let me go and I will tell you everything." "Milord, I am the only one who knows about that place. If I die, nobody will know about the treasure left behind by the supreme from the divinity." The deaf Taoist's pleading voice kept ringing in Luli's mind. The deaf Taoist even mentioned the treasure of a supreme from the divinity. Luli was a bit tempted. He ordered the silver dragon mark to stop. At first, he was not confident about his orders because the silver dragon mark was not under his control. However, this time, after he gave the order, the silver dragon mark stopped. The dark energy in Lu Li's soul retreated. At this moment, a spiritual connection was established between Lu Li's mind and the deaf Taoists. Between Lu Li's eyebrows appeared a mark. It was the deaf Taoist in the form of an orc. The deaf Taoist opened his eyes feebly. The glow in his eyes was dim, and he was exhausted. His soul must have suffered serious damage. Buzzing, the deaf Taoist shrank until he became a Taoist again. He put on his robe and knelt to Lu Li. "Greetings, master." Whoosh! Lu Li swung his relic weapon and used Xian energy to smash the deaf Taoist away. The deaf Taoist did not have the courage to defend or dodge. His chest was already a bloody mess. Now, he was covered in blood. "Master, I am sorry." The deaf Taoist flew over and dropped to his knees in front of Lu Li again, filled with shame and bitterness. Lu Li snorted but had nothing to say. The deaf Taoist had become Lu Li's spiritual beast. What else could Lu Li do apart from abusing him? He could not kill the deaf Taoist for real. After all, the deaf Taoist was a fierce warrior. "Tend to your wounds." Lu Li threw the deaf Taoist a cold glance. He took a healing pellet himself. Just now, he was injured. Though it was not a serious injury, he still needed to tend to it. Whoosh! From the distance came a noise. Lu Li took a look. It was Tang. Tang must have come over to take a look since there was no more commotion. Tang saw the deaf Taoist kneeling in front of Lu Li from the distance. He was taken aback. Just now, when the deaf Taoist was so powerful, Tang had thought that Lu Li would lose. However, the fight was over so soon, and the deaf Taoist was kneeling in front of Lu Li. Was he convinced? The deaf Taoist glanced at Tang, who felt a chill running down his spine. The deaf Taoist thought about it and said, "Master, should I go and kill them? After all, if they know who I am, it will be troublesome." What? Tang's heart skipped a beat. The deaf Taoist called Lu Li his master? Had he become Lu Li's sole slave? How could Lu Li be so aggressive? He was so young, so powerful, and he had the deaf Taoist under his control. That being said, Tang was frightened when he heard that the deaf Taoist was going to kill people. Tang was much slower and weaker than the deaf Taoist. He could not run even if he wanted to. "It's okay," Lu Li waved his hand. "You are with me now. Even if all the warriors of the 9 universes come, I can protect you. What are you afraid of?" Lu Li's words were arrogant, but he was confident. Tang admired Lu Li's words. He flew over, dropped to his knees in front of Lu Li and said, "Greetings, Lord Lu. Lord Lu, I cannot ever repay your kindness. I am willing to follow you, to be at your beck and call, to do what I can." Lu Li helped Tang kill the deranged Taoist pair and saved his life. Tang seemed to be a man who valued friendship. He didn't run away just now, which was proof of that. Lu Li liked Tang's character. He nodded and said, "Tang, stand up. Since you want to stay with me for a while, then go ahead. When we conquer the 9 universes, I will give your family a universe." What? Tang was overjoyed. He just wanted to repay Lu Li's kindness. He did not expect that Lu Li would be so generous. As for whether Lu Li could conquer the 9 universes, Tang did not think too much about it. What else could this freak from the Heaven Reverse universe not achieve if he could tame a powerful warrior like the deaf Taoist? Chapter 1146. Have you seen this man before? Lu Li took out a portrait and showed it to the deaf Taoist and Tang. Tang looked at it and was confused. That's right. Tang was confused. But the deaf Taoist recognized him right away. His name is Lu Renhuang? He met me 3 months ago, but I beat him away. Master, are you looking for him? Yes. Lu Li nodded. This is my father. I am looking for him. Do you know where he is? What? The deaf Taoist dropped to his knees at once. Master, please forgive me. I did not know it was your father. I did not know how to control my strength. But your father is very powerful. His profound meaning of ice is almost at the peak. He even froze me in there. Ice profoundness. Old Freak Tang suddenly thought of something and said, could it be the legendary ice demon? Luli frowned and asked, what ice demon? Tang explained, it is said that in the prison of ice, there is a madman, no, a powerful warrior, skilled in profound meaning of ice. His profound meaning of ice is very powerful and he has been challenging others. Every once in a while, his abilities will grow. His profound meaning of ice is so powerful that he can freeze anyone in there. Many warriors wanted to hunt him down, but they could not because they were frozen. So, he is my father. Luli once heard from Heavenseeker and Feng Aoshue that Lu Renhuang had been challenging powerful warriors and his abilities had been improving by leaps and bounds. Luli ignored Tang and asked the deaf Taoist again, do you know where my father is? I don't know. The last time I saw him was 3 months ago. Nobody knows where he is now. The deaf Taoist shook his head and said, Master, don't worry. I will send a message and ask someone to look for your father. Okay. Luli nodded. The deaf Taoist shouted at once. Not long afterward, a man dashed over from the distance like an arrow. This man's realm was not high, but he was fast. Luli sensed the profound meaning of wind in him. But he must have integrated other profound meanings. This was not a pure profound meaning. Send my message. The deaf Taoist said, tell them that I am looking for the ice demon and I have something important to tell him. Whoever knows where ice demon is, send me a message immediately. Whoever finds ice demon will owe me a favor. If you find ice demon, tell him that his family is looking for him. All right. The newcomer was rather small in stature and had a flattering smile on his face. He nodded and bowed like a servant. He cupped his fists to the deaf Taoist, Luli and Tang. Then, he dashed out like a snake and vanished into the distance. Master, please wait patiently. The deaf Taoist cupped his fists and said, that person will spread my message soon. I think in half a month at most, he will come back. As long as your father is in the prison of ice, he will be found soon. All right. Luli nodded and told the deaf Taoist to tend to his wounds. Tang thought about it and said, Lord, I will ask some friends to look for him. You stay here. Tang was a sensible man. Luli went back to the wicked bead. At the same time, he asked Yu to release her subsidiary bodies to search around. Then, he quietly waited for the news. Luli went back to the wicked bead and started to cultivate. 10 days or half a month soon passed. Maybe, by the time he came out, Lu Renhuang would have been found. Luli continued to study the map of fundamental principle. The last words left by Emperor of Heaven Reverse kept repeating in his mind, fundamental principle. Everything has an origin, vacuum and illusion. The focus is on the origin and truth. The meaning of the words origin and truth was simple. Focus on the origin and truth. But what did this have to do with the integration of the 12 maps of fundamental principle? Luli had never been able to figure this out. Maybe it was the words left behind by Emperor of Heaven Reverse that troubled him. When I find my father, I should go to the prison of wind when I have time. Luli made up his mind. Lu Renhuang could learn profound meanings related to ice at a fast pace in the prison of ice. Maybe Luli could be inspired by the prison of wind. He wanted to go to the prison of darkness and prison of soul and eventually the prison of thunder. He did not have to go through the prison of thunder. All he needed to do was reach the prison of thunder. He wanted to send Little White to the prison of thunder. If Little White could absorb energy of thunderbolts, its abilities would improve by leaps and bounds. Not only would her strength improve by leaps and bounds, she might even be able to follow him to the immortal world. Time passed in cultivation. Soon, 17 days had passed. The deaf Taoist, who was sitting with his legs crossed, had almost recovered. After all, his physical body was strong and he could recover quickly. The peaceful time was disrupted by two people flying over from the distance. The deaf Taoist opened his eyes. The short semi-god realm warrior he sent to deliver the message had brought back an old man, an earth immortal realm warrior. Lu Feng, what is going on? The deaf Taoist looked at the short semi-god realm warrior with displeasure. He had been gone for more than 10 days without any news. Why did he bring back an earth immortal realm warrior? Lu Feng cupped his fists and said, Lord, this man works for the Ice Devil. He said he has news about the Ice Devil. The deaf Taoist looked at the earth immortal realm warrior with a glint of ferocity in his eyes. Where is the Ice Devil? There was a trace of hesitation in the old man's eyes as he said weakly, Didn't you say that his family is looking for him? Lord Lu Feng, are you lying to me? I told you to say it. Don't waste my time. The deaf Taoist was displeased. Violent energy surged out from him. How could a mere earth immortal realm warrior disobey him? Was this man courting death? Shut up! A cold voice came from the wicked bead in the distance. He who had alarmed Luli. Luli dashed out and dashed over. The earth immortal realm warrior was overjoyed. He dropped to his knees and said, Grand Master. Luli came out because he recognized this man. This was a patriarch of the demon-slaying hall. His surname was Yi, a progenitor warrior of a branch of the Yi family. He came to the prison of ice with Lu Renhuang. Master! Seeing Luli coming, the deaf Taoist dropped to one knee in fear. Luli had just told him to shut up, which meant that he was furious. Lord Lu Feng. Seeing that the deaf Taoist was on his knees, Lu Feng dropped to his knees in fear. The patriarch of the Yi family was taken aback. It had only been a few years. How come Luli had become so powerful? Even a warrior from the purgatory of primordial chaos had to kneel to him? The deaf Taoist called Luli master? Patriarch Yi, please rise. Luli helped Patriarch Yi up and asked, Do you know where my father is? In the prison of wind. Patriarch Yi said solemnly, Lord Lu might have gone to the prison of wind. He must have been hunted by Blazing Hua and the other 3 warriors. He had to flee to the prison of wind. I don't know how he is now. What? Luli was taken aback. He was filled with killing intent. He asked the deaf Taoist, Who is Blazing Hua? The deaf Taoist said solemnly, Blazing Hua's name is Hua Tianyan. He is the progenitor warrior of the Hua family in the Hippocampus universe. He ranks second among the purgatory of purgatory's top 10. Master, we must go to the prison of wind at once or your father will be in grave danger. Buzzing, Luli went into the wicked bead at once and then put everyone in. Without wasting any time, he dashed toward the entrance of the prison of wind. A jade talisman appeared in his hand. It was Lu Renhuang's jade talisman of life. Luli was relieved to see that it was still intact. Chapter 1147. On the way, Luli asked Patriarch Yi about the specific situation. Patriarch Yi told Luli everything that had happened recently. Luli finally understood why Patriarch Yi suspected that Lu Renhuang was being hunted by Blazing Hua. Lu Renhuang had been challenging powerful warriors in the prison of ice. But he was a man of principle. He would only fight and never kill. Even if someone angered him, as long as he could defeat the enemy, he would not easily kill them, unless there was no other way. The title of Ice Devil was earned by Lu Renhuang's repeated challenges and breakthroughs. It was also an affirmation of Lu Renhuang's strength from the old freaks cultivating in the prison of ice. Actually, many warriors in the prison of ice liked Lu Renhuang. No discord, no concord. On the contrary, some old warriors were looking forward to Lu Renhuang's challenge because both of them might be inspired and have a breakthrough during the fight. Lu Renhuang loved challenges, but he was not an idiot. There were some warriors in the prison of ice that he dared not to provoke before he was strong enough. Otherwise, he might just kill them if he angered them. Like the deaf Taoist and blazing Hua, Lu Renhuang dared not to offend any of the Purgatory's 10. He knew that he was more powerful than average warriors at the peak of the semi-god realm, but there was still a gap between him and the Purgatory's 10. The reputation of these old monsters was not based on boasting. Instead, it was established through battles and the corpses of their enemies. He did not go to Blazing Hua, but not long ago, Blazing Hua suddenly said that he wanted to fight with Lu Renhuang. Lu Renhuang happened to run into the deaf Taoist and was wounded. Lu Renhuang ran back to the place where he hid with Patriarch Yi to tend to his wounds. Lu Li had fought against the deaf Taoist and knew how powerful the Purgatory's top 10 were. Naturally, Lu Li would not dare to fight against Blazing Hua. Therefore, he led Elder Yi and the others to change their hiding place overnight, preparing to hide in the Wind Prison. Unexpectedly, they were intercepted by Blazing Hua's men and killed the other 2 Earth Immortal Elders. Lu Renhuang stopped the 3 pursuers by himself so that Patriarch Yi could escape first. Is it because of me that Blazing Hua took the initiative to cause trouble for my father? Lu Li's eyes turned cold. If Blazing Hua knew that Lu Renhuang was Lu Li's father, he might have some other thoughts. After all, by capturing Lu Renhuang could threaten Lu Li with certain things, such as forcing Lu Li to hand over the relic. Whoosh, the wicked bead whooshed on at the top of its speed. Lu Li was growing impatient. His relationship with Lu Renhuang was not particularly deep. That being said, blood ties could not be changed. What was more, he had been influenced by Lu Ling since he was a kid, so he didn't hate Lu Renhuang. After Lu Renhuang came out from the ice abyss, he made up for the lack of fatherly love and Lu Li accepted him. The entrance to the prison of wind was not far away, but it still took Lu Li 2 days to get there. Along the way, Lu Li kept an eye on Lu Renhuang's jade talisman of life, worried that it might explode all of a sudden. At the entrance to the prison of wind, Lu Li dashed out and dashed into the passageway leading to the towering mountain. However, the gravity in this passageway had actually become extremely terrifying. Fortunately, his physical body was very strong. Although his speed was somewhat affected, he still easily rushed up the sky-piercing mountain. After a blur, Lu Li found himself in a desert. As soon as he came out, he flew up. He did not fly here on his own, but was blown up by the wind. Given Lu Li's fighting capacity, even if an average warrior punched him, he wouldn't move one bit, let alone a gust of wind. However, the wind here lifted Lu Li up and swept him into the sky. It was not hard to imagine how horrifying the wind here was. Lu Li did not panic. He let the wind blow him up and checked the surroundings with psychic power. After a few glances, he retracted his divine will because there was nothing else to see in the wind prison. There was only the Gobi Desert in all directions, and the sky was filled with yellow sand and strong winds. In the distance he could even see a few tornadoes that connected to the sky. The prison of wind deserved its reputation. This was a world of wind. Buzzing, Lu Li steadied himself and sent out the deaf Taoist and Lu Feng. The 2 were surprised. How come they had arrived at the prison of wind in just 2 days? The speed of the wicked bead was too fast. Lu Li waved his hand. How can I find my father? Do you have a good idea? The deaf Taoist turned to Lu Feng, who cupped his fists and said, Lord, leave it to me. I have some friends in the prison of wind. I will ask them to look for him at once. Here are 10 jade talismans, which represent different places. Taoist, you know. Lu Feng cupped his fists again and left. Lu Li decided that he could not sit around and wait. He took the deaf Taoist into the wicked bead and flew in the opposite direction. Who is this Lu Feng? Lu Li asked with curiosity as the wicked bead flew away. The deaf Taoist curled his lips. He is just an information peddler. He makes use of information from all over the purgatory of primordial chaos to make friends with others. Oh, I see. Luli nodded. He used psychic power to check the surroundings. The scenery in the prison of wind was poor. Along the way there were either deserts or gobi. Occasionally he would see some mountains, but they were all bare and black. That being said, the wind in the prison of wind was violent. Usually the mountains would have been blown away. An hour later, Luli suddenly stopped the wicked bead. He noticed someone in front of him. In the desert, there was a tornado with a diameter of over 1,000 feet. In the center of the tornado was a gray-haired old man flying against the wind. He must be cultivating. The gray-haired old man used psychic power to check, but showed no intention to pay attention to Luli. He closed his eyes and continued to walk against the wind in the tornado. Luli dashed out. He cupped his fists to the old man and said, "Sir, can I ask you something?" Luli wanted to ask if he had seen Blazing Hua and Lu Renhuang flying by. His tone was sincere and polite. However, the gray-haired old man answered impatiently, "Piss off or die." Luli was speechless about these old warriors who could kill people at the drop of a hat. The wicked bead glowed. Luli let out the deaf Taoist and said to the gray-haired old man, "Ask him if he has seen Blazing Hua." "What?" The gray-haired old man stopped when he saw the deaf Taoist. He flew over and dropped to one knee in front of the deaf Taoist. "Nice to meet you, deaf Taoist." Whoosh! The deaf Taoist kicked the old man. Noticing that Luli was not happy, the deaf Taoist could tell that the old man had spoken rudely to Luli. The deaf Taoist was forceful. The gray-haired old man did not dodge and was smashed away. His chest was dented and he spat out blood. Luli waved his hand. "Okay. Let's get down to business. Get over here." The deaf Taoist shouted. The gray-haired old man flew over and dropped to one knee again. "Forgive me, Taoist. Lord, please forgive me. I am as blind as a bat. I could not recognize you. Where is Blazing Hua? Have you seen the Ice Hunter?" The deaf Taoist came straight to the point. The latter shook his head. He was confused, indicating that he did not know. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.